Welcome. Welcome, YouTube. So is Helldivers worth re-downloading? Yes. Yes, it should be. Seems intentional, but I mean, I could be wrong. It just so it sounds like to me. I get what you're saying. I can see where you can see that it says our current plan is to remove the ability to backspace out of dangerous areas as a way to retain gear. But that was sort of the idea. It's already mentioned in pledge items. With Tier 1, you no longer be able to respond with your preserved gear already equipped. You will need to visit locations such as your freight elevator to reclaim all your registered items. We're developing a quality of life feature to allow you to re-equip your previous full loadout with an auto-equip button at this location. So, like, why would they say it twice? Why would CIG say the same thing twice? Because that sounds like they're saying the same thing twice. If they're pushing crafting for 4.7, and item recovery would obviously be part of 4.7 too, right? I don't know. I hope so. I mean, they mentioned it, but we're going to watch that video today rather than go into play right now, just because the topic, we're going to do a call-in show. So the call-in show, how the pub chat works, the pub talk works. Did I say pub chat or pub talk? Pub talk. The way that's going to work is you're going to call in. Actually, hold on. Bring this up real quick. Okay, no, it's not in there. See if there's any other highlights for this one. Wow, there's a lot of people. I forgot how much spectrum is people just bitching at each other. This thread is just basically people being like, thank you, God, for fixing the game. And people are like, you've ruined the game for me. Fuck you. And then people yelling at each other for saying, this is great. This is terrible for you. This is terrible for me. So if it's terrible for me, fuck you. It's great for me, fuck you. It's all these comments are. That's all these comments are. Okay. There's a Xylo quote. But this one we're gonna be doing is just a what's the vibe currently of Star Citizen? That's what we're gonna be talking about. But I do want to watch that 2-hour video in preparation. We're not gonna get through all of it, but we'll get through a bunch of it, I think. I'm still just going through these comments to make sure to see if there's no other CIG comments. I don't see them though. For clarification. God damn. Wow. Jesus fucking Christ. Why are people writing goddamn essays in these comment sections? The best part of this is like from like almost a year ago. And it's like, it's not that deep, guys. All right. The vibe is Elmo fire emoji. We were just happy that Jared and Benoit said there's no wipe, so our Aura can continue working on our Wicklow Idris. I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. It's not worth the drama. It's not worth the drama. I understand, and Ekitsun. Like, I understand the thought. I'm not going to talk about it. They're going to wipe, but I don't think they'll wipe until getting closer to Squadron. They might wipe over the summer. The biggest reason why they're not going to wipe is because the whole system... Alright, Kasun, there was no hint that there was going to be a wipe. There was never a hint there was going to be a wipe. The hint that there was going to be a wipe was from a developer who said that they weren't going to wipe until they fixed the problem of duping. That was it. And everyone said, wipe. It's like, no, the developer was just saying that they weren't going to do it until they fixed the problem of duping. And as far as I know, they haven't fixed the problem of duping. We haven't even gotten a hint of them fixing the problem of duping. Yeah. White mentioned. Run to Spectrum confirmed. CIG said there's going to be a wipe. Yeah, he basically said that there's no point in wiping until we have a handle on the economy, and we do not have a handle on the economy. So we're not going to do it for a while. Now, understand, there will be a wipe at some point. It's just not going to happen in the next, like, 2 or 3 patches. So it won't happen until the end of the year at most. Yeah, he didn't give a specific timeline, but the way he was talking seemed like it could imply at some point in the next few months. They wouldn't do it unless it was a patch, and they're not doing patches, but twice a month, or once every 2 months. And they said they wanted to make sure that they confirm that it was working for a patch, at least, until until they actually wiped it. So that means you've got 4 months. Even if they fixed it in 4.7, you'd have until May to get it done. .1.0. Hey, you know, Sheeny 5, I'm not going to say, here, when I say things like, I think CIG is going to release Star Citizen in 2027, like next year, I don't mean I think Star Citizen is going to release a good Star Citizen in 2027. I'm just seeing at the outside forces that that are pushing into CIG and going, well, they're going to have to release at some point, so they're planning on hitting 2027. They won't hit it. So they'll delay it till 2028 at the very least. But 2 years, yeah. And if you go, but what about X feature? Or either if it's already in the game, then this is what you got. If it's not in the game, you're gonna get a basic ass version that barely works, and they're gonna move the fuck on. Yeet Citizen, yeah. Yeah, they call it an MVP for a reason. It's basically a beta, but CIG is going to say something stupid saying that it's release. It's release, and I guarantee you they're going to get hit with a lawsuit about it, and the people who will deliver the lawsuit will either be paid off or just lose. With Ashes of Creations failing, Doomers are saying Star Citizen is next. How much money did Ashes of Creation raise? Star Citizen has raised like almost $1 billion. The reason why Ashes of Creation crashed is because it couldn't make money. They still had 250 employees. That's a lot of fucking people for a video game company. And as far as I understood, they had like a handful of alphas they released over the course of their 10 years. Whereas like Star Citizen is released... God, I can't even think about how many patches have been released over the last... Since like Arena Commander 1.0. Since the like... hangar module. Probably hundreds, if not thousands. Ashes is in the same ballpark. It kind of is. Ashes is, it's using the same network technology as Star Citizen. It was the plan, at least. All I can say is that I've heard many people whisper the doom of Star Citizen over the last decade I've been doing content for Star Citizen. And they've all been wrong. Even myself. So anyone saying Star Citizen is cooked has no fucking idea what Star Citizen is capable of doing for some reason. Call-in show? Yes! So starting in about 2.5 hours, we're going to do a call-in show where you can hop onto the Discord, and I'll pull people up one at a time and have them talk about their thought on Star Citizen right now. Like right now, we usually have specific topics. This topic is a little bit more general, but it's more of people's feeling about the game right now. I also feel like a fantasy MMO is an uphill battle, given that WoW is still a massive juggernaut and Star Citizen doesn't have to compete directly with WoW. Possibly. I mean, I'm biased as shit, so I can't like say that I'm not unbiased when it comes to like Star Citizen, not just with Star Citizen, but just science fiction in general. But I firmly believe that fantasy has become so mainstream that it's become pretty much tune-outable. Like, it's super easy for someone to make a fantasy game or book or television show or movie and get it greenlit or get money for it. So as a result, everyone and their mother is making something in fantasy, even if it's not viable. Like, look at Highguard, for instance. I feel like the whole reason why they decided to do magic and fantasy with guns, in terms of the aesthetic, is that they knew that science fiction wasn't as popular, but they could probably get a fuck ton of venture capital money by saying it's a fantasy MMO or a fantasy like arena shooter game. Like, the word fantasy means mainstream. It means common. It means everyone likes fantasy. Everyone likes magic, and I think we've reached saturation on that. But I'm, again, biased, and I think science fiction has been set aside for so long because it's usually too expensive in movie and television terms, and it's usually very boring and dry in terms of literary terms, and it used to be overdone in the early days of 3D video games.
You can take away my spaceship. You can take away my space suit. You can even take away my space lasers. But you can never, ever take away my space game.
Markin42 just resubscribed for 47 months.
Thank you so much for that 47 months of support there, Macron. You're a very important public, very impressive, Mr. Very pedestrian. This is your fault. This is your good night. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. The most aggravating people. Oh, cool. Giant robots and explosions. Why did they spend 3 episodes talking about politics, though? Yeah. Because the old gray men with money might be out of touch with current society, but they know how bankable fantasy. Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, WoW. The Lord of the Rings won fuck tons of Academy Awards and acclaim, made shit tons of money. Game of Thrones made shit tons of money, got a lot of acclaim. WoW is super fucking popular, is still making tons of money. So the people with the money now, who are y'all's age, slightly older than me, 50s, 60s, 70s, the moneyed class there grew up with those things and are like, well, fantasy is great. Because you can see it in, like, even non-Western sources. Like, one of the biggest exports, most popular exports in terms of anime, is fantasy. Look at tabletop RPGs. Almost all of them are fantasy. Even TTRPGs not made in the US. Like, fantasy is... And it's not just fantasy, it's Tolkien fantasy is fucking everywhere. The fact that Brandon Sanderson took this long for Brandon Sanderson to be tapped means that they are scraping the fucking barrel when it comes to, we need fantasy that's new and popular that has a built-in fan base, but we don't have any, we've done all of them already. The LOTOR MMO got canceled, and that's a huge bummer. Yeah. I think Ashes was supposed to be the fantasy sandbox, but I also think that people put way too much faith in the idea that everyone wants a sandbox game. I don't think so. I think people want a sandbox game, but with a sandbox game, you want something that isn't the same sandbox game that's been made 7,000 times. You know, Ark, Atlas, Dune, like you know what I'm talking about. The same survival crafting, MMO survival, or like sandbox. I think that's one of the reasons why Star Citizen is getting a lot of attention, is that it's, instead of drawing on that sort of angle, they're drawing on, of all things, Dark Souls, Souls-likes, but also Star Wars Galaxies, which is fondly remembered by people who played it, but it was, I think, a game well before its time in terms of its approach to sandbox storytelling. Hey, just Eric, how you doing? It took a decade and a half to potentially get into a Stargate series, not counting Origins. I know. And Stargate was fairly popular and well done. Like, The Expanse came out and got absolutely, like, blitzed in terms of fans, but literally the people who ran the shows did not recognize the series potential that they had. They just squandered it. That seems to always be the case. It's like science fiction concepts have to either hit and be billion-dollar franchises right away, or have to become cult classics and be brought back from the dead. Like, when was the last, like, space-based, non-survival crafting game, science fiction, that, like, existed that wasn't, like, an indie game that was just a ripoff of, you know, the nth number of flight games that have existed in space? Mass Effect is probably the only story-driven science fiction game that wasn't like an open-world survival game. Do you think Star Citizen will get more niche as the game gets more defined? I don't know. I think CIG is dumb. I think they can make a game for everybody, which they can't. I think I am philosophically, fundamentally in disagreement with CIG's mentality that Star Citizen's a game for everyone. I feel like that is fundamentally impossible, and they're just going to water down the game to the point where no one cares. So I think CIG will have to get more niche as the game goes on. There's nothing wrong with a game that has an understanding of what it is, who it's supposed to be for. Look at games like Helldivers. Helldivers is not a game for necessarily everyone, but it is a game that people can learn to like and enjoy and play, and it has a huge number of people who play it regularly. And it's been out for, like, what, 3 years now and doing well? What kind of game are you? A buggy mess, sir? Well, like, if CIG were to focus, they could make a game that definitely crosses genres and has a wider audience. But you're gonna need to, like, kick some people out. And the thing is, and this is going to sound awful, and I only am saying it because it's intentionally going to get people mad at me, because for some reason I love touching the third rail when it comes to Star Citizen conversations. I don't necessarily hate solo players. I play a lot of solo myself. And obviously solo play is gonna be needed at least for some things, so you can kind of enjoy stuff on your own. But I think the idea that this game can be soloable in its entirety is a bad idea. Because it makes the game watered down and bad. Which is why I think NPCs are a bad idea. NPC crew is a bad idea. Because fundamentally, it opens up solo players to basically experience multi-crew and experience the gameplay not designed for them. And while that's great, it'll basically mean everybody who is already being forced to do multi-crew with other people will simply do that because it'll become the meta. And while solo players will be like, well, now I can compete. It's like, no, you won't, because everyone else will be doing the exact same thing. And now instead of having to face against 2 Idrises that are fully crewed, now you face against 16 Idrises fully crewed with your fully crewed Idris. So you still lose. Like, there's no winning in this equation. Oh, is A1 quitting? I didn't hear that. Okay. Understandable. Apparently there's a video, you can go find it, so. No, I'm not going to be doing the event today. I'll be doing that tomorrow, Ryoshima. We'll be doing mostly discussion. I'm going to watch the video that CIG released on Thursday, the 2-hour video. Should probably start that if anyone actually want to watch it. Parts of the game need to be soloable and parts don't. They need solo story content and progression without taking away the large group play like raid style group and PvP. It's an open event tomorrow, yes. Kick you out, drama queen. I agree, solo should be the focus, but they need damn good party finder and loot share mechanics. I think they will. I think CIG recognizes that, but at the same time, like CIG has a game that is in all of their designs and what they've designed so far. The game seems to be, not necessarily is, built around the idea, the hierarchy of very densely packed locations that are relatively safe, that allow for more narrative content, less densely packed locations that still have some narrative content, but allow for players to do more sandbox activities, and locations which are more based around sandbox and have almost no content around the story-driven areas. So it allows for natural progression or natural diffusion, whereas where the places that have the least amount of story content are going to have the best materials and the most potential for things like crafting and base building. Thus, players will more likely be gravitate towards those places to do well. However, those places will also end up being dominated by massive groups, which far outstrip and outplay players who just want to play solo. I'm here for immersion and generative storytelling. I don't need NPCs sending me on missions. I need functional game systems. Well, you and I fundamentally disagree on that aspect, because I think Star Citizen, at its core, needs to have a universe that makes sense and that players can connect to in order for you to want to keep playing. It's sort of like a mystery. If you feel like there is more to this universe beyond what you see, the iceberg analogy of like there's stuff below the surface, but you see the stuff above it, but there seems to be stuff below the surface you could see, but you don't quite understand, then you're more likely to try to dive into that location. And if you dive into those areas and try to get more understanding, if the game rewards you by getting more information, then you feel more connected, especially to what the universe is. If CIG just wanted to make a sandbox, dual universe is basically what you're talking about. Just sandbox systems, go have some fun, go play a generative story. Even RimWorld, which is the biggest story-generated game, has deep lore that like matters. That's what I mean. That's the other thing I was going to say, Dirk, is that dual universe shut down. So clearly there is not really a market for places where it's just go, let me have my my open world experience. Hey, Ramin. PvP should not get the best crafting materials and quality of the current crafting mechanics. And that's the thing, is that in the hierarchy that I just laid out, solo players will not be able to experience the full game. Because they'll have to go to these places which will be dominated by larger groups in order to get access to materials that they need for their special snowflake stuff they need to do. And they won't want to do that because they're just going to get beat in the face. No, I'm not asking for a sandbox. The lore environment storytelling is part of the immersion. I'm saying what I don't need, like a solo AAA game, quest givers and storylines like Onyx tried to be. I need the game to work when I want it to trade up for rare stuff with orgs that I can collect them, etc. You're gonna get they're gonna do both. Onyx did okay. It just failed. It failed to stick the landing. It had good atmospheric storytelling. It had good general vibes of what was going on, so you could figure out what happened. The reason why Onyx sort of petered out is that the Yormandi was the boss battle, and that sucks because it has nothing to do with the story. I think the Onyx story was unfinished. Not that it was bad; it was fine until it just stopped. Because at the same time, they were talking extensively about boss battles in like the monthly reports, and CIG for the last several years have had conversations off and on about boss battles. I'm assuming because of Squadron. So they were clearly hinting at a boss battle happening at the end of the Onyx facility, and they just didn't. Yeah, Lady Space Patrol. We've done it before. It's just I didn't call it specifically call-in show, so people didn't know it was a call-in show. So I'm just gonna start call it a call-in show. It's called Pub Chat or Pub Talk, but CIG owes me a Vandal mutilated Yorit fight. No, what they needed to do was I can tell you the way they were moving and the way it would have worked in that classic sort of mustache twirling, like, you'll never catch me, Spider-Man, you know, Team Rocket's blasting off again, kind of thing, was you get to the Van Duel and Yort comes over the comms and says, because he already says, everyone's just like, I don't know who you are, but he doing. He says, this is where you end. I'm not gonna let you leave here with my secrets, with my work. It's mine, not yours, you thief. And then, like, releases a live Van Duel. And then a bunch of, like, half human, half Van Duel, like, crazy people who are just running up and just punching the shit out of you. So you have to deal with those guys while the live Van Duel is kicking the crap out of you. York always gets away. Yeah, he's the kind of guy who you could tell a story about forever. You could have him as a minor antagonist throughout the entirety of the Star Citizen universe. Two words, mech fight. Exactly. I mean, I've been saying for a while that if they actually added, now that they have the what are they called? The Icties. Having a battle where you have to fight, like, one of the big actual, what are they called? Titan suits, like the actual combat Titan suits, the Zeus system. You just have a raider in a raider, a pirate or an outlaw in like a modified version of one of those suits, and you have Ichthys that'll jump around and try to shoot you. And then if you damage the boss will like go into phases. The boss will be like, "You don't got me yet," and then like disappears behind like something to get fixed up and repair, and then comes back at you after a certain amount of time. Having phases where you have to like destroy like the mechanism so he can't escape and repair himself while you do. Like, is it fully realistic? No, it's a video game, but it's working in the fiction. It works. Star Citizen needs a Q. I'd love a Q. I love a good omnipotent trickster god. And you have to kill the guys with the SRT ghouls fixing him. Yeah, something like that would work too. Yeah, some sort of sick mutation of like this thing that keeps getting back up because like the automated machines keep reviving it. It won't let it die. Oh God. Not a revive. A regen. It keeps getting regened until you turn off the regen. I did an entire video on it, Stefan, on religions in the 30th century. I literally did. It's one of my worst performing lore videos because nobody cares. But yeah, there's religions. The short answer is every religion that exists today exists in the Star Citizen universe. It's just the mentality of the average human in the Star Citizen universe is that religion is less important than advancement of science. So religion has become sort of like a secondary priority for people rather than being the primary priority. Generally speaking, that's not everyone, but the general feel of it. Was there some image ago of showing a battle of some type of character with a Sidnus? Possibly. I don't remember. Hey, Red Echo. Not a single religion now is what it was 900 years ago. I mean, obviously there's probably going to be some changes, but effectively, Christianity today is Christianity. The same fundamental principles of what Christianity was 900 years ago is the same today. Same with Islam, same with Buddhism, Judaism, everything. Things evolve, but the fundamental principles aren't that different. So more or less religions became more like guidelines. There are new religions too, like the Church of the Traveler is pretty popular, which is more of a philosophy than a religion. Plus there's the Banu religion, the Xi'an religions. We should know a lot about the Xi'an religions. We know the Vandul worship knives. The Tevarin have their Rijora, you know. That is a... sorry, I probably mentioned it a few times, but who are the guests today? You are, the viewers. We have a call-in show. This is important to remember there, Alberto. Humans did live past the last 30 for thousands of years. Humans lived as long as we've been living today. It's just access to healthcare and high infant mortality rate is the reason why the average age was 30. When you gave birth to 10 children and 6 of them died, that's going to affect how long people lived. Basically, once you live past the age of like 7, you're guaranteed to at least live to your 30s or 40s, unless you died in battle or got some sickness. The actual average age of people live into their 40s and 50s. The thing to take away from the average age was 30 is, holy shit, did a lot of kids die. Oh my god, did most of the kids die in these time periods. Like, if you remove infant mortality, I think the average age for most people on the planet until like modern medicine was still like in the 50s. People in their late 50s, early 60s. Like, life expectancy in the United States in the 1930s was 65. Most people wouldn't live much past 65. And that's with like effectively, you know, pretty modern medicine in the 1930s. Yeah, when a sizable chunk of lifespans were less than a year, that throws off your stat, yeah. Your biology professor said that human body was designed to last the last 65 years, but with nutrition, medicine, and healthcare, it's made people live much longer. I would doubt that, but your professor probably knows more than me. The fact that they made Onyx facilities so much like the Umbrella Corp facilities made it seem like they were, that's where they were going. It did seem like that. I think, again, the problem with Onyx feels like CIG had planned a boss battle and then decided not to do it. And my only thought was that the original boss battle was a Vanduul, or some sort of Vanduul-like creature, but they either didn't have enough time to model it and like rig it up, and they didn't want to do it because it wasn't going to be a reusable creature, or it was too close to the Vanduul like technology, like AI stuff they've been developing for Squadron, and they didn't want to release Vanduul to players that early because, you know, they wanted to save some of that surprise for Squadron. Found out AI turrets are in Hyperion last week. Did they shoot at you? Yes. They've been bugged. They've been in for a bit bugged, yeah. I did not see the picture of Captain America's spaceship. It would have been very well written, but I'd love to do a series of missions as part of a multi-part event that ends up with you finding out who you've been working for Yort all along. Oh yeah, I love that. It's the Avenger Titan, like copy-paste. Oh, no way. Marvel's been caught doing this in the past. I'm not seeing any references to it. online. To be fair, the Avengers kind of a space shuttle ripoff. It's actually more designed around space shuttle replacements that were never made, which were all very space shuttle-like. Actually, I think one of them technically was, which is basically a mini space shuttle, but it's the Air Force uses it. Yeah, the XB-33. I think it was like the Dream Chaser. Yeah, Dream Chaser. They're still making it? Dear God, it's still being made. What the fuck? It was originally designed for NASA. Yeah, that. If you look at it, you can see like the Zeus, the original Zeus was heavily inspired by it. But you can also see like the Avenger lines there. You flatten those wings down and you got the Avenger. The original Avenger, which was pretty small. It also looks like the ship from Farscape. That's how old this fucking thing is that Farscape ship is literally this. It's a ripoff of this. This was originally pitched back when Farscape was first released. This is like a 20-plus-year-old design. Yeah. That's just a basic ship of a space plane that needs to re-enter atmosphere. Yep, that's what the Avenger is. It's a space plane. That sentence makes my head hurt, Ramin. Did you see the Space Force release the other day from their latest secret aircraft? It's like, why is the Space Force releasing pictures of their secret aircraft? Isn't that it's supposed to be secret? No, I haven't seen anything yet. 45-year-old was concept in the 80s and 90s. Oh, damn. Yeah, it was supposed to be replace the shuttle because the shuttle was built in the fucking 70s. For those of you who don't know, the shuttle was designed in the 60s and didn't get built in. Well, you were all alive. Most he says you were all alive back then because my audience is all in the retirement home. But yeah, it was built in the 60s, or was concepted in the 60s, and it didn't get its funding until it was literally being voted on during one of the Apollo missions. Like there's actually transcripts of, I think it was like 1970, 1971, of them talking about that the space shuttle got approved, and the astronauts on the moon were like, we really need that shuttle. It's of Earth from the aircraft's POV. Oh, we're talking about the secret shuttle that the Air Force uses. I guess the Space Force now has that one. This one. This bad boy. They have like 2 or 3 of them, I think. They keep going up into space. We don't know what the fuck they do, but they keep going up into space. We're all Grognard fans of Wing Commander and X-Wing and Elite, the original, yeah. Basically, all of Star Citizen's events are designed around a group of at least 2 and at most 8. The sweet spot that CIG seems to be hitting is that 4 to 5. Hey, Luna. You are, Luna. Congratulations. It is going to be a call-in show, so we're going to be doing our pub chat. The topic is going to be basically the general vibe of the community, the state of the game right now. For you youngins in the audience, for those who haven't heard about this, one of the reasons why the shuttle existed was the idea of reuse of making space travel cheap. So they thought what they could do was find a way to launch shuttles into launch basically planes into space that could then maintain, like retrieve satellites, repair satellites, and deploy new satellites. Because launching satellites into space was super expensive. But the problem was that just rocket technology got cheaper. So the shuttle was basically out of its depth. It pretty much was obsolete the moment it was built. So they had to find stuff to do with it. So they ended up building the International Space Station and all these other things. Challenger did affect it, but it was also just super expensive. The boosters, the solid rocket boosters weren't as reusable as they thought, and they lost the giant tank. Well, even though the tank was pretty much just a tank, it still was more expensive, far more expensive than they were hoping for. That's why in the 80s, if you look at a lot of science fiction in media, especially in anime and animation, that was portraying the future, you'd see things like railguns or mass drivers, where the idea was to send space planes into space through mass driver launches rather than through rockets, because that was the thing. People are trying to find ways of getting around the rocket, because the rocket, you just dispose of the rocket as you fly. So Jules Verne, but modified. Yep, the space catapult. Yeah, you can post it there. It shouldn't. It shouldn't knock you down. No, it was because the talk was the Avenger is just a ripoff of the space shuttle. It's no, the Avenger is a ripoff of the Dream Chaser. Plus also a bunch of concepts of other space planes that existed in the 90s and 2000s. That got us into the conversation of where all this came from. Yeah, no, I've heard the whole rail launch system makes more sense in Mars. Basically everywhere but Earth. Earth is just a little bit too tough to use. Yeah, and there's also that, ramjets. That's one of the things I wish we'd see a little bit more with Star Citizen, is variable engines. That would have been a lot cooler. I get the simplicity of what they're doing, makes sense. But it leads to the thing of like this tiny fucking like boost, like thruster can like boost 2Gs, 2 times Earth's gravity. It's that small. Yet this big fucking thruster behind me can only barely do the same. What the fuck? It kind of leads to that. What the fuck is this going on? But it's not a problem that's unique with Star Citizen. A lot of games and universes do that. Variable engines, no. Like engines that are air breathing and liquid fueled. So like in atmosphere, they can turn into jet engines, and then you can close off the jet engines and the intakes, and then they can turn into rockets. So like ramjets. Posted was not showing up. You can post it on Discord. Yeah, we should start watching that stream because it is long and I'm already far too late now. I had it up. Where did it go? I'll pull up the YouTube real quick. We're probably not going to watch all of it.
That you...
And I'm going to mute the game real quick.
Large system.
That is the fucking Avenger. It's not even close. That is a fucking Avenger. God damn it, they did it again. Right here. Attention, this is Captain America of Earth. Down to the fucking gun on the front. The other thing they did is they added some crisscross things, patterns on the cockpit. Like, it's one thing to be inspired by something. This is just a trace. Well, no, see, Marvel has done this in the past. They have been caught basically taking video game assets and assets from other media and just copy and pasting them into their comics, and then basically tracing over them, modifying a little bit, and then removing them. Like, I can guarantee you I could probably find the picture they stole from that perspective and everything. This isn't AI slop. No, it's lazy artists. Not lazy, overworked artists. Yeah, Tau tanks. They did it with the Tau devilfish. That's not even an inspired by the Avenger Titan. That's just a fucking Avenger Titan. Desperate plagiarism to make a deadline. Yes. This might be the same fucking artist who did that one, because that was the Hulk one, I believe, where Hulk destroys a Tau devilfish. No, I mean the answer to this isn't to sue Disney. It's to just let people call out, hey, this is a video game. Why are you stealing this from the video game? You have side-by-side pictures up? Let me see if I can find one. Now we're definitely not going to watch that. Watch all of that. So it's like I could probably find this exact. Yep. I found it. The exact image. It's literally the poster child for the Titan or for yeah. That's the image they used. That is the image they used. It is undeniable that it's the image they used. It's the same fucking angle. Literally on the pledge store. The wing is the same. Oh yeah, if they just an artist searched Avenger spaceship, that's probably what they how this got about. Yeah. They just added a couple of things, like the cockpit has a little bit things here and there, and the wing is slightly. They drew a line on the wing, and so they broke up the tiling right here. But that line also exists on the model. It's a trace over, is what it is. Fuel intakes are the same. Hey, can I copy your homework? Sure, just don't make it look obvious. Oh, at one point they stole the Hercules as well. I love reading Reddit when people are like, well, CIG stole the Venture from Eve, and it's like, it's not the same shit, guys. At best, it's sort of inspired by, but they actually went about to change it. CIG had to because of the nature of how refining works, so. I understand it. Don't get me wrong. I feel for the poor bastard who has to make a deadline and needs a ship and can't come up with a ship on the fly. Yeah. At least this was from 4 years ago. But at least this is slightly different. It looks like they took an amalgam of a bunch of different Star Citizenships and slapped them together. This is a little bit more inspired by. Like I would believe that this artist is a fan of Star Citizen. Like that's like they just took a lot of the inspiration from it. See, there's apparently oh, there we go. Yeah. So this is the guy who actually made the Star Lancer, Adam Parker. And he's also a Warhammer 40k fan. So the fun thing is the Tau models are ported from Dawn of War to Gary's mod in order to trace them into the comic book because they have a bug where the engines and weapons turrets shrink. Yeah, the Terrapin, it's got the anvil circular dome thing on the back. It's got the like this front thing is a little different, but like most of this is the C2. Like you can see with like all the designs and angles and stuff like that. There's a bit of a gladiator in there, yeah. Yeah, nothing's gonna come of this. As they said, CIG didn't sue for this. They're not gonna sue for the Avenger Titan. If I was CIG though, I'd make a social media post about, I'm glad Captain America's got great taste. Aegis is a fantastic brand. And tag Disney in it. Tag Marvel in it. Just be cheeky. That's what the fucking Eve devs did when the Vulture came out. They were like, we love the Venture too, guys. You know? I say there's a difference between inspiration and theft. Like that C2 seems like was definitely inspired because Star Citizen ships are fucking cool, guys. Like I've known artists, or I've met artists who know Star Citizen because of the ship designs. They just love the fucking ship designs. And like the Perseus is gonna show up in so many science fiction like art pieces in the future just because it's cool as fuck. And then there's like, I need to get something done. I'm just gonna fucking trace something. And they did that with the Tau models, and I think they did that with the Captain America ship. But yeah. Oh yeah, we're gonna see Kruger in Marvel too. Again, I feel like I should reach out to Galactica about it and be like, hey, tag Disney. Say that they've got a good taste in ships. All right, let's actually watch this. Episode 1, and it's definitely inspired by the new Naboo fighter, but there's at least some other elements in there which make it not the Naboo fighter. Just like the Scorpius isn't the X-wing, but it's the X-wing. But it's also the Fury from Battlestar Galactica. Not Battlestar Galactica. Why am I fucking from Babylon 5? Both with the B. I didn't watch 4 minutes.
But it has, because it's a surprisingly being available environment. And so they launched almost...
How's this last year then?
Well, so like if I recap, like almost same date last year.
Almost, yeah.
Was when we actually launched 4.0 and server mesh.
B5 Fury was also an X-wing. The way I've always seen the B5 Fury is, because I think the idea behind it was basically, what if we did the X-wing but made it as realistic as possible? Because I remember they like worked with some NASA engineers to design a lot of the ships to make them as like fantastical but as grounded as possible. And so like the Fury, the idea behind the Fury was all of those thrusters on the Fury could work if you built a Fury in space. They would work as you see in the show. They were designed around that sort of how you think things move in space. That's the whole aesthetic behind human designs in Babylon 5, is they're all low tech but very practical. Yeah, Gunstar, that's there too.
Actually went to the live environment, and so yeah, it's kind of the 1 year anniversary of the tech being available for all players. It's been surprisingly solid. I like to say that this way because it's a very large system, but it has given us just good foundation for what we had to do last year in terms of the content drive that we've pushed forward, the performance improvements that we wanted to deploy. It was like we were expecting a lot more turbulence with the release of server meshing than we've had in a year. It's been a very, very stable system overall. And so I would say, like, if I look back at the year, obviously there's always problems, with new technologies, but the server meshing itself has been very, very, very solid for us.
Okay. So in the, quite frankly, years leading up to it, talking about it, it began to get this mythology that it was going to be this silver bullet, that it was going to be this one-stop fix that was going to fix so many issues. It didn't fix every issue in the world. It was never going to fix
I love this paint job on this Corsair.
every issue. But I want to talk about what it has enabled for us in this last year.
Yeah.
So what are some of the benefits that we can draw a direct line from server meshing that we've experienced in the last year?
Well, like if you walk back to the Star Citizen experience before 4.0, so before server meshing got introduced, a server crashing, that was the end of your session, right? You would lose your ship, you would lose your cargo, everything would disappear. You'd have to reconnect, restart the client, start over, right? Anybody who's lived through the first years of development of the project know how intense this was, right? And so the first thing that server meshing brought us is server recovery. And so because of the fact that the replication is separated from the simulation, when a game server crashes, which is where most of the crash risk exists, the state of the replication is still good. So we just tell you, hey, we're getting another server, you stay there. And when it comes back, we can recover exactly where you were. You don't lose your ship, you don't lose your cargo, you don't lose your materials. And I think that's been a very, very big, it's a kind of the unsung hero feature of server meshing. It helps with, engagement, playing longer sessions, finishing missions. And so for me, that's like one of the big pluses that was brought in with server meshing. On top of that, and we did have some crash isolation, to be clear, in 3.24 and before, right? But what server meshing really brings also on top of that is crash isolation. So if a server is in charge of the Crusader area and he's the one running into issues, then only that area is affected. And so the player who's, bounty hunting in Pyro or something like that, he's completely safe from his crash. And that just, the perceived stability has increased a lot based on that. On top of all the work we've done to prevent servers from crashing in the first place, but just this whole setup has made the game a lot more stable in that sense. So that's just the kind of meat and potatoes of what meshing has brought us. But the key bit it brought us also is much larger player counts. And so we used to be limited to 100 players per server, which had the whole universe to simulate. Now we've got a series of servers simulating the universe. And so we oscillate between caps of 600, 700, 800. We're still experimenting going higher with this, depending on multiple factors. That cap changes for the moment. But just the fact of having more players in the same shard means you can have an event where 200 people show up at one area. Surprisingly enough, we've also discovered things through this, that sometimes game servers actually perform better with more players in one area than one server simulating the whole universe would, because he has less entities streamed in, and now it's all about updating the components in that area. So we've seen certain events, because players always find a way to, organize something that should be a problem. But there was a 400-player party in one of the bars on New Babbage, and we looked at the server performance through that, and it was actually very, very decent. And so we expected a full meltdown, but it was actually good. And so that enables that experience, right? Obviously, there's a million other problems to solve for this to be a really good experience, but from a server meshing point of view, that was a big win.
You've got a 500-player meetup coming. I just saw something.
I know, it's like that becomes a kind of common thing, and we love it because that's exactly what the tech is meant to enable. And then obviously the two other things that meshing has brought us this year is 2 new solar systems.
Yep.
And so for years we'd been stuck in Stanton. expanding the sanction system, more POIs, more planets, more things. And now suddenly we were able to branch into Pyro, which was everybody at CIG was really looking forward to that. It was internal tension at when are we going to launch this thing? I've been working on this for a long time. And so that was really a relief to be able to get players across the jump gate. So the jump gate technology obviously comes with meshing, and so expanding into 2 systems in 1 year.
Being able to add Pyro in January. The tech preview was December the year before, but it went live in January, and then Nyx goes live in November, same year. It's this the most common question. We've been doing this for a long time now. Here, forget other places. We've been doing it just here for a long time, and one of the most common persistent questions is about the pace of development, and people have been waiting very long for certain things, justifiably so. And we've always maintained that its development kind of works on it builds, it builds, and you get more efficient after you build the tools, after you build the foundations. It gets more efficient. You can do more later on. This year, because of server meshing, we were able to kick out 2-star systems, and we're still expanding on Nyx. Every patch this year will expand Nyx even more. It's the one in March is looking to expand a bunch of the service stations, and our first big content drop, which I'll go ahead and say right now is supposed to be Rockcracker. If you watched what was it called, Citizen Direct. Me and names. You can learn more about that, but we're currently working towards that as our March release, and then on, just continuing to build out Nyx until I think in the Road to 1.0 presentation at CitizenCon 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago, Rich Tyler acknowledged that Castor would be our next system whenever that comes online. So it's just this technology.
It's unlocked the capabilities to do what
we can actually start to deliver so many of these things that we've been talking about and working on behind the scenes. Instancing has some role in that.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely. There's one more thing that server meshing brought us that's not negligible, is a very substantial gain of performance on the game servers in general. So like 324 game servers were running, we had a very low bar for acceptance on FPS for game servers because we just had to deal with so much. Nowadays, like server FPS is magnitudes higher, so that actually allowed some of the content we've already produced actually shine because it was working properly. And so that's because servers have less to simulate. We can optimize their workload. We've also reduced we talked about this before, but we've reduced the size of the game servers because they just have to simulate one area. And so overall, meshing has improved server performance by big magnitudes.
Yes, Chet, no, my head is not smaller. My hair is just bigger. It was very windy and rainy today, and it's just whatever. No, I haven't had a dye job. It's grayer than it's ever been. No, we are not taking questions from chat, but I will comment on every one of you commenting on my appearance.
This is
So that's static.
Oh, what's over here you're talking about? That is I want to say a Star Wars ship. It's not a Star Citizen ship.
Meshing has improved server performance by big magnitudes.
Yes, Chet, no, my head is not
Star
smaller.
Wars, thank you.
My hair is just bigger. It was very windy and rainy today, and it's just questions from
literally
chat,
a Star
I will
Wars ship,
comment on every one of you commenting on my appearance. So that's static server meshing. We know the next big stage of server meshing is dynamic. What can you tell us, if anything, about that?
Well, so the dynamism in the mesh,
Dynamism?
Dynamism, I guess. So we're running out of words internally to define what the next step of server meshing is. Currently, we're working on quasi-dynamic server meshing, which is we're trying to iterate on the static mesh, right, to bring it so that if an area is empty, right, and nobody's there, we can spin down a server, and if people go to that area, we can spin up a server. To achieve all this, all of the mechanics required for a full dynamic mesh need to be there. So like mass authority transfer between servers, because when a server goes out and it has X amount of entities that it currently has authority over, it needs to give that to another one, and that obviously you don't want that process to lock up the parent server. So that whole mechanism is what we're working on at the moment. In fact, we've done over the break. The team has actually reached a milestone. We were able to run with our internal testers a test of quasi-dynamic server meshing internally. So that's good. I mean, it's the first test, so, it's a bit rough, but it basically requested, I think, 200 servers to run the mesh. That was a little bit of a, Yeah, our ops teams, Ahmed specifically, I got a call from Ahmed immediately. But anyway,
So wait, you've been calling it quasi dynamic, and I've been trying to workshop a new name for you, and I've just got just a little bit of dynamism. But so you did your first test of this quasi dynamic, like, hey server, you try to determine how much you need, and the first thing it did was ask for 200 more servers.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
yeah,
you know,
a little bug in the assignment system, but.
Hey, server. How many more servers should we have? I'm tired, boss. I'm fucking tired. Just more.
that sounds like human nature.
Correct. So that's what we're working on right now. That's the next step towards the full dynamic mesh, right? Obviously, the goal with the dynamic mesh, just to recap it, is that instead of having a subdivision that we pre-make in advance, like currently, every patch we look at the territory assignment, is what we call it, of like what's coming, like, oh, we have an event at this place, and most players are going to go to this system, and so we adjust the mesh, right? And sometimes we get it wrong, and it's a very manually intensive process, and we don't want to keep doing that. So the goal with the dynamic mesh is to be able to just adapt to where the players are, the cost of the location they're in, to be able to provision compute dynamically up and down. So there's also the unfortunate cost equation in this, right? The current static mesh will always provision a server for every territory that's configured, and so there's a little bit of savings we can go and get there. But more importantly, the dynamic aspect of it is to be able to always make sure that the proper compute is available for players when they're in an area doing something, right? So that's the goal.
Chat's debating whether the servers have actually achieved AGI and have played the game, and they're just like we've played the game. Give me 200. Site server meshing.
Yeah.
Last year.
Do you think they had dedicated data centers, or they rent space in server farms? They're AWS.
Last year was coined as the year of playability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we've
By him this time last year.
just backdoored a whole bunch of playability improvements that server meshing, which dropped last year, enabled. So we've had all of those improvements last year that made the game far more playable than it was in any previous year. But that phrase has been used, it's weaponized, it's thrown back every once in a while, every time somebody encounters any kind of bug whatsoever. So I want to talk, and that's not entirely unfairly, because everybody's bug that they're encountering is the most important bug in the universe at that given moment, and that one is not resolved because they're encountering it. I want to talk a little bit more about what we did gain last year. So it's whether that's the transit system stuff, the 30Ks finally being killed, the creatures and boss fights and stuff. When you tell me, how did our year of playability go in your head?
Well, so I think that, obviously coming from the server meshing improvements, there was also some failings at the beginning of the year where we saw, transit became a very big problem. That's an example of a
Only
system.
because we tried to use it.
Or tried to serve you, but badly. But that's an example of a system that was built years ago that wasn't properly scaled over time. And so when you added dynamic gateways for the transit system plus the meshing situation, that became a really problematic system. And so that was, I think, the first order of business once we launched 4.0 was like, we need to really take action on transit. And so we talked about this last year, but we did create the Transit Heroes group, which was a coalition of volunteers. Well, they got volunteered. Voluntold, yes, exactly. To come and give a bit of oversight on this, to look at the system to see, okay, what do we need to actually, have stable elevators and trains and, make sure that that's always available. Because the traversal of the game, if that doesn't work, then the game doesn't work at all, right? If you can't take an elevator to get out of the habs, then
you've got
good luck, right? So the Transit Heroes team, I think, has done a fantastic job. They haven't re-engineered the system in that strike team, but they really focused on self-healing strategies, right? If a manager loses a carriage for some reason, for any reason, well, just create another one and get this thing rolling, right? Now, they couldn't fix, in this effort, they couldn't rebuild the system. There was fundamental flaws in how it was engineered for server meshing support. And so, but at least they got it into working condition. So I do think, like, if you look at the game now, transit is no longer the big problem it used to be, right? Like, it actually functions when you need it. Now, that said,
most times
it fixes itself, right? So it's still getting in a weird state, but it fixes itself. So, we've done more about this, and we'll talk about it
And
later.
we're building the transport system
Correct.
concurrently.
Yeah, absolutely.
So while this team is repairing the transit system, we're building a new bespoke transport system.
Right. So transport is basically the fix for this, like the real fix.
Let's get to transport when we talk about that's what.
Yeah.
So what else did we get last year?
Well, I got a list here that I worked out a little bit with Jens just to gather up because the game is so big. So
I'm gonna limit you a little bit on this time. You've got.
okay,
I'm gonna give you 5 minutes.
sounds good.
I'm gonna give you 5 minutes.
I'm being time boxed.
because we do want to get to the new exciting
of course.
hotness.
I'll go for
this is important.
Okay, so we talked about 30K
hold on,
protection.
my clock out.
Okay,
Here we go. Sorry.
Go for it.
Go.
You should be a producer. Okay, 30K protection, transit improvements, right, to make it stable. A stable tech base for the content teams. What doesn't show is that to achieve the content we shipped in 25, we actually froze a lot of the technology to give the content teams a stable base to work off. Before, it was a bit more of a mayhem. So we did that. As we built all of this content last year, so a monthly patch was a very heavy cadence.
10 patches last year.
Yeah. I think that what's really cool is that we've built kind of a library of locations and events that if you start playing Star Citizen today, there's that to do, right? It's like that. We never had that before. Like a real set of locations that have like a full-on, storyline to follow. So that's really cool. In these locations, we're able to ship some new creatures. So a lot of new creatures and boss fights. So we had the first couple boss fights this year. With Yormandi, Stormbreaker. So that's like a brand new, design discipline for us to design boss fights for multiplayer elements. So that's new. Spawn in Hangar is something that we've actually been able to enable this time. So we tried to enable it in end of 24, and that was a bit of a disaster. 25 now, Spawn in Hangar is there. So if your hangar is available, you spawn directly there. That's actually a very large quality of life improvement. I play the game a lot. Not having to go to the habs is fantastic. We've been able to put weather in key locations, including some of those big hero locations we talked about. We're hoping to do more, but for now it actually is there. 2 new star systems, we talk about this. Jump gates, which is a whole, a game on its own. The way it functions is actually super interesting. As you're going through, the zone is moving, and you're moving within the zone. It's really a fun system to go through. So that's in. We fixed the goddamn bounty beacons. Which is one of the coolest loop in the game. I love it. And that was obviously not working. So now we've actually got them to work again, which is a big win. Quantum interdiction was in the same bag, where now with a server mesh, having proper interdiction was kind of difficult. So restoring it was an interesting one. We had to actually build systems to allow that because not every server has a view of the entire shard anymore. And so in order to interdict cross server, you needed to have a special tech to do that. That fixed also quantum linking. Now, routing is still. Yeah, there's still issues, right? It's getting there, but at least there's been some quality of life improvements on that side that we've done this year. Freight elevator, ongoing.
We'll have a whole section on freight elevator.
But there's been a lot of, if throughout the year, freight elevators have received tons of
compared to where they started when we attempted to push them when we pushed them to the forefront for an event, and compared to where we started. But let's.
We talked about server FPS and stability from the meshing and the cleanup that we've put in place. Also, we've pushed at the middle of the year. It came for you guys at the end of the year, but actually we merged it at the middle of the year. But a whole new tech base, including at least a year of graphics update, including Vulkan, coming into the game now. That was what will allow us this year to do some pretty large changes as well. The first weaponized mech, so the Atlas ICT came in. So that's also a really big boost. We still don't know if it's a vehicle. John Prue and I have this ongoing feud. He says it's not. I say it is.
You're dipping into content here. I'm not going to let you count it. I'm not going to let you count.
It's armor, not a vehicle.
Count the active. That's content.
Oh, that's fine.
I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Although the jump jets were a feature. I suppose.
There you go.
The jump jets were a feature. So I'll give you half credit for the active.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. I will take that. Comms notification got a big facelift. That's something that we want to use a lot more of, and so we needed the proper tech to be able to render that properly, and not just the quip lines, which you need more immersion than that. So that was actually a pretty big thing with facial animations and tracking, and so that's
this literally released 2 days ago.
That's in there. And then cross shard progress for events. So what powered a lot of the content this year was a new service in the background of the game called the scenario service, which whether you're doing clean air or the resource drive last year, the cross-shard progress of these events is tracked by the scenario system, and so that's how we were able to show tables about how many resource drives and resource drives, stuff like that. Exactly.
Yeah. That's a pretty good list. You just got it says 502.
Yes.
Look at that.
On time.
And you didn't even mention like item recovery.
No, I did not.
Didn't mention item recovery. And there was one other that I had until I got distracted by my own
It's all
clock.
a blur.
I got distracted by my own clock. Basically, it's hard. Let me think about how I want to say this. If you've been watching this show long enough, you know that I'm not above taking a section, in this case 5 minutes of the section, to basically go through some talking points that I want, that I think are important, that I think people want to hear. It is. We have had things like the year of playability thrown back at us in comms, and when you see, I tune into a Twitch stream or YouTube thing, and somebody gets a very frustrating experience. I was looking at an experience of somebody, just going to town with their whole C, and they went through a jump point, and it took them trying to go to one system, it kicked them back out to the next system, and the thing crashed, and then they got back in, and the spindles they tried to open the spindles, but the spindles were closed, or looked closed, but they were actually open, so they were in the wrong state. Tried to get refueled, tried to go to refuel, the refuel thing wasn't working, and then stowed the ship and spawned the ship, and it didn't come back on the docking port. It came back in their hangar full of cargo, and it's like this. It's like, we acknowledge that. I'm sitting here saying we acknowledge those things, but there was so many massive improvements last year. You used an analogy last time we did with this about I think it was the big freight container, the big giant Suez Canal shipping things, that you don't just turn the direction around, you don't just spin the wheel and suddenly you're facing a new direction. It takes time to move these things, and the efforts of your teams and the people under you, these strike teams, these hero teams as you call them, to turn this ship that we call the persistent universe around in the last year, has been phenomenal. If I'm allowed to have a personal opinion, being the shill for the company that I am, has been phenomenal. We haven't gotten everything. We still got another year. The work continues. Yeah. But it's my show, and I wanted to take 5 minutes to acknowledge the tremendous work of those teams, and a whole lot was accomplished last year, in addition to the amazing content work. I said 10 patches, and I realized we actually had 11 because we kicked engineering out. Yeah. We kicked engineering out in December, so it was actually 11 patches. 11 patches in 12 months is pretty crazy. So you allow me to have a moment, to have some time to sit there and sing the praises of those people, because I've seen where we were, and I know where we are, and we're in a much better place now. Still,
it's just the beginning of the
still places to go. Yes. That scenario I just described was like last week, and we got still places to go.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean we don't acknowledge.
I think it's a testament to kind of the systematic approach we've taken to solve some of these issues, instead of previously we used to just assign tickets to people and they would find the fastest way to solve it, and now we kind of work as a team with the teams in quality assurance that are basically the arbinger. Like, no, it's not fixed. I can still repro, right? And these guys have been going through a systematic approach for it. I think that's paid off a bit.
We get better.
Yeah.
Not always, but we try. And in this case, we've definitely gotten better. There were some big changes to internal infrastructure and stuff in the last year or two, and we're seeing the results of that stuff. All right. So now let's go into some specific updates here. So let's talk about the transport system. We don't need to talk about transit so much anymore. The transport system is what will one day replace this thing. I've heard talk about there being a tech preview of it soon. Talk to me about the transport system.
Also, transit was problematic, wasn't designed for server meshing. And so transport is a complete rebuild of the transit system, but using more server meshing native approaches for how different pieces are going to manage elements that are streamed out and streamed in. We're also moving away from some previous misconceptions that were put into the transit system. For example, one of them was responsible for trains going into space. We don't want trains to go into space. So,
you might not.
Yeah, well, I mean, unless we do a space elevator.
Astro train.
Yeah, Astro train would be great. So the state of transport, right? So at the end of last year.
So I'm going to pause. What's included in transport? So what are we talking about?
So transit and transport manage elevators, in-ship elevators, trains, anything that has to move when you press a button and you call it. So it's a network of carriage, peripheral, and gateway. Okay. Right. So you take an elevator to go to your hangar, that's transit.
You take a tram.
Anything
that's automated, anything that moves you not under your control.
Right. And he's the one moving the carriages. Right. Okay. So he needs to deal with carriages being streamed out. Like prediction for that stuff. So transport is a rebuild of the original transit, which has been, as we talked about, problematic. So the state on transport is, at this point, we are, it's functional. So we've the team at the end of last year actually completed the first transport link, which was we tested this internally with our QA teams extensively at this point. All of the new Babbage HABs links. So we took one link in the universe, that one, and we tested the crap out of it. Right now, that's a static link. So it's going this. When I say static, it means the 2 points that the elevator goes to exist. Okay. They always exist. So we know that works. Then the state at the moment is we also support hangars. So these are dynamic gateways, because if you're online and you're at the location, your hangar is spawned there. That's a dynamic gateway. If you leave, that gateway disappears. So the system needs to deal with dynamic gateways. The previous system kind of did. And the kind of bit was the piece that wasn't great. And so we've got internally at the moment new Babbage, we've got hangars and hab. So the state of transport now is the team is working at converting all of Area 18. So we're talking habs, hangars, transit trains, all of Area 18 to the transport system. So we're going to go to tech preview with that. That's our plan. And the reason why we need to go to tech preview is because we need players. We've tested this internally. We can't muster as much players as we want. So we're going to try to see if you guys want to come and help us out, test the new Babbage transit for real on a tech preview to validate all the assumptions that are in the system.
So we're going to launch tech preview and ask people to just come and ride the elevators.
Correct.
Come and ride the trams.
And their hangars.
And their hangars.
Yes.
And hope nobody dies.
No train.
All of you who just got Evocati, who are like, yeah, I can't wait to test, you better show up for fucking riding the goddamn elevators. I don't want to hear any bitching about, oh, the first thing I got to do is ride the elevators. You're goddamn right you do. Welcome to Evocati. Welcome to the suck. You better show up. This isn't the sexy thing. I wanted to test base building. You'll get fucking trains and you'll fucking like it.
Trains in space, no doors opening to nothingness. That'd be great. No passing through the floors in the carriages.
The single most exciting tech preview we'll ever do. But incredibly important, because it's a tech preview that doesn't just affect Area 18. It's one that can literally affect quality of life in every single landing zone.
Hold on.
Patch this will load in, but at that point we hope to bring transport in and completely deprecate the transit system from the game and nuke it from orbit.
Cool.
Yeah.
And that's next week?
We don't give dates. Best effort, but it's looking good. Like this tech preview is going to be where we're going to evaluate really like where we're at with scale, because the issues of transit typically come up with scale most of the time. Right?
Fair enough. I told you we get back to freight elevators.
Yeah.
So what can you tell me about
Here you go, chat. The best space elevator music.
freight elevators and what still needs to happen.
Sure. So
That's literally the Mass
way
Effect
more
elevator
complicated
music.
than you can imagine, because they get affected by other systems like hangars, like planetary locations. There's also multiple flavors of them, top loading, side loading, and they all operate very differently. So this year, we've had issues at the beginning of the year, clearly, with the freight elevators, like losing items, obstruction, blocking them from functioning.
You said the beginning of the year, but that really came to a head in July.
Where we had even an event that would rely on them, which was, in retrospect,
Well, we knew there was a collection of issues, but we also, all of our data said they were only
localized.
Localized. It wasn't until we went to scale.
That's right.
That we realized, oh, this is actually even worse than we thought.
Right. It's also coupled to a couple of things, and for that event specifically, which was, we concentrated missions in key locations. That's one thing that has been in our discussions all year, was how we distribute missions, right? How we, if we launch a new mission tomorrow morning and we send everybody to the same spot, that is problematic. Not just because it's not fun, because it's a traffic jam, but also it causes other issues. And so that we learned a lot from that on the design side, I think, overall. But so freight elevators, though, so we're pretty happy with some of the core mechanics, but there's still very egregious issues that we're tracking. So there's roughly 73 total issues that we know about. 51 of those have been resolved. So I've asked one of our teams in our Nathaniel Fisher, resident expert in freight elevators, to track that. So the rest of these issues some of them are really problematic. One of them we actually discussed, you and I, just before the show, was how if you're turning in Wicklow items, you need to put them one by one.
Things in a box. You have to be able to put things in a box.
Correct. And so
you have to be able to put things in a box and have it suck up that box.
Yes, I agree, 100%. And so that's going to be one of the first ones I think we need to look at. The other one is a bit more problematic because we don't have a proper repro for, but sometimes there are lost items that fail if there's like a back-end slowdown when things get stowed. So we have a couple reports for this, not many, but the ones that we have are critical. And so, this is a kind of a rule we've set on the CGP team. So Jens and I are pushing this to everybody. It's like, the golden rule for everything related to freight elevators or anything that touches inventory is a player should never lose an item interacting with these systems, right? We need trust in them 100%. And so,
do you think it's a little late to retcon planets of Nyx? No, not if CIG decides to go full bore. And CIG is basically deciding to go full bore. I think CIG is completely rethinking a lot of core elements of the science behind Star Citizen, and trying to update it with what they would rather do. And one of the things that they want to do is, remember, the idea that smog planets weren't terraformable wasn't because smog planets were somehow dangerous and scary. It's that smog planets, that CIG wasn't planning on having smog planets or having planetary landing at all. So they could diversify what kind of planet was there by saying it was either a dead rock or a smog planet, or dead rock, ice giant, gas giant, or a smog world. So only a handful of planets would be terraformed, which means a handful of places you could actually go to. Now that they have planetary landing, they want to make everything more accessible. So they're going to start taking a lot of those smog worlds and turn them into terraformed worlds because they want to make more accessible locations. That doesn't mean they're going to get rid of all smog worlds, but they're going to start changing some stuff around.
That's why we're tracing on those issues. So there's still a lot more work required on freight elevators for different edge cases. A new one that we started seeing in 4.6, which seems affected by another change, but is sometimes like...
Salter is arguing that the freight elevators should not be turned in for small items. They should just make a small freight elevator. Just take the small elevator, miniaturize it, and then just use that. It's the same thing.
Putting stuff on the elevator, not on the grid, will cause it to disappear,
right?
Which is kind of a physics cleanup conflict. So I know we're looking into this right now because that's a big one. But and then everything that has to do with stacking. So having a stack in your inventory that you want to unstow onto the freight elevator, that mechanism from a backend perspective is actually a creation. I know that sounds weird, but you have a stack of 10. That's one item with a stack of 10. You may bring it. It's a creation of 9. So that bit is not stable right now. We're trying to improve that that mechanism.
It's hard because there's a lot of the chat right now is debating Wicklow at the moment. And
wait, did I say his name?
Well, if I say it 3 times, he shows up on the screen. But a not insignificant part of the dislike for Wicklow is directly related to that freight elevator. It's just We have a section later on. We asked around. We'll get to it. But I'll give you a preview. But we started talking like what is the single greatest quality of life thing that we can do. And I went around and I asked a couple head honchos here around the company because I was curious. I did an interview before. Like what to you is the single biggest quality of life thing we can do? The single biggest. And on more than one occasion, shout out to Jens. I'm going to spoil it here. Not losing items.
Yeah.
Just not losing items. Just that seemingly simple, benign, innocent little thing. Like if everything else is important, everything else is super important, everything else is super necessary. It absolutely is. But God is my witness. If we can just make it so people don't lose their items, like. So shout out to the heroes of the freight elevator hero squad. I thought it was Strike Squad, but we've rebranded it during this call as Hero Squad, and I like it.
Right.
So we'll do it. And everybody, the people in item recovery, the people in the new inventory, people who are working on the new inventory system right now. It's everybody working to fix that because that's just the single most demoralizing thing in the world to me. Speaking of item recovery, we launched V0 or V1 or whatever the heck we called it, T0. I'm hearing that there's a T1 on the horizon.
Correct.
Talk to me about it.
Well, so obviously Tier 0 was a fairly large change to the game, so that in the case where you die in the verse, instead of having to run a corpse run to recover your items, you would actually respawn with them. This was mainly done to, we're in an alpha game, we needed to do some compromises, so we looked at that. So item imprint, there's multiple names for this at this point. Item imprint, item recovery, Tier 1, entitlements 2.0. Those are all sort of related. So the gist of it is, and this ties into some other subjects, but is that currently when you play the game, right, and you look at your ASOP terminal, I think I've said that last time, but I'll go through it again. When you look at your ASOP terminal, the list that you see there is the list of entitlements that you own, which ship that you own, you have a right to, right? Then that's cross-linked with the actual ship. Do you have it? That this entitlement, let's say it's a Connie, what is it in the game, right? And where is it? And that's how the ASOP terminal shows you the list, right? So that's why you're able to have a row when there's no ship and it says retrieve or deliver, right? That creates the ship. Then deliver brings you the ship on the platform. Those entitlements currently, they don't live across patches. Right? We recreate them. The first time you log in, there's a big process that reconciles your account, grabs your web purchases, grabs your LTP records, and recreates those entitlements. Obviously, long-term persistence has always been it's a difficult problem to solve. It sounds simple, but it is not, I assure you. But in order to facilitate all this and also other item recovery needs, we've decided to basically persist those entitlements across patch. So these things will never get wiped anymore. And so losing a ship is not going to be a thing. That's not going to be technically possible. We never really delete entitlements. And so you have insurance on those records, so you can claim insurance. The only way to lose a ship will be if you no longer have insurance on it. You still have the deed for it, but you can't claim it. So item recovery is a rework of the entitlement system. It touches on how you claim insurance on ships. It allows snapshotting of ships, but also FPS items, so that these live with an insurance loadout that we can keep and recover, and then will give us the ability to recover or claim your even FPS items. So think of it as an insurance system for FPS items. Right? So this whole mechanic ties into LTP as well. We're also hoping through the system to solve some of the issues that exist with, taking components off of a ship and claiming the ship, losing the components, and or in some cases being able to duplicate some default components. This whole loop is insurance has always been a problem design-wise for how this functions. So item imprint V1 allows you to imprint items, save that state, and then recover it on death or when you claim insurance.
All right, so I have a couple questions here based on what I heard. You keep mentioning insurance. Are you saying that insurance will be in alongside V1 or just, yeah, exactly.
Correct. I say insurance because that's the same kind of loop in terms of what the services are doing to do this, but basically it's a snapshot we recover from.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
So when item recovery V1 comes out, it'll still be much like it is today as far as insurance. Everybody will just have everybody has LTI on everything at the moment right now until that very specific gameplay system is implemented. So this is not that. No. You're using lowercase I insurance.
Lowercase I, yes.
Sorry, I just needed to,
underscore I.
I didn't think ship insurance was coming in this one.
Yeah.
So just to clarify that before folks go off.
Freak out.
You're saying that because it's a change to the entitlement system and everything will just get snapshot and moved over. When you say people will no longer lose ships, you're talking about that whenever a patch comes out, people come in and they're talking about the ships that they've earned in game, the ships they've either bought with AUEC or stolen or whatnot. Those should persist.
If you have an entitlement for something, we no longer wipe that between patches at all. We keep it completely.
Okay.
So that should give us a lot more. In fact, it is exactly the way you would expect it to function right now, except the way the systems were built in the past didn't account for that. And so there was cases where you could lose something that you own because it was left unstowed in a shard or something like that. And so now with the entitlement system, we keep that cross-patch.
So the first question I have in response to that is, how will people get rid of things? Because quite frankly, I might go joyriding one day, or I might buy a thing for AUEC and fly it, and then decide I don't want it, I don't like it, and now it's just sitting there staring at me in the ASOP. If these things don't go away between patches now, every time I want to try a ship, or I just move away for a ship, or John Crew nerfs the hell out of the ship and I don't want to fly it anymore.
Goddamn John Crew.
I might want to get rid of it. So will there be? Is there going to be a mechanism for getting rid of these things?
Well, not with item imprint, right? As part of this, no. But there are. I don't want to go too much into details into this, but I can give an example of like, you have a ship filled with cargo that you stow into your location inventory in New Babbage, and you claim that ship, right? In the current way the system works, that cargo's lost, right? That ship will get deleted and you're done, right? You get a new one, but it's the same entitlement, right? With the new system, we have the ability to also show you ships that you own that had an entitlement on it. And so what that means is you could claim that ship. You'll get a new, let's say it's a Caterpillar filled with cargo, and you're like, I need to claim it for some reason. You can claim the ship. The other ship will be bricked, right? That's how the design is functioning. So it's no longer usable, but you can still retrieve it. You can still retrieve the brick ship and get it. And then if you destroy the ship or tow it out, then it'll go away from your entitlement. But there's going to be more system, of course, to remove that from your ASOP terminal longer term, but not in this phase, but longer term, yes.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about the...
Could we just have an ASOP terminal that only shows the ships we have locally?
I'm thinking about the long-term players, the people who have been here for a while, who have acquired a rather massive fleet already. And
I'm a victim of this.
And you start buying ships, and I'm guilty of it. There's just sometimes I don't want this anymore. I don't want to look at a I don't know, a Rock DS anymore. Just want it out of my ASOP. I bought it mistakenly from Astro Armada. I just had a momentary weakness. I don't want that Rock DS staring at me in my ASOP for the end of time, because you've done a wonderful thing with item recovery. But
now you keep it.
Now you're
stuck with it.
Yeah, some things.
Are you saying you don't want your ships anymore?
I'm just saying some things aren't meant to be persistent. So I just want to take this opportunity to just
That's a good conversation.
There should be some way to remove, to get
I'm
rid of
very
it.
curious about why you singled out the Rock DS out of this.
There is a search function which would work, but what we should have is a screen for a filter for ships in local area and ships that are available. So we know what ships we have in a local area and what ships we have available, and if we can call ships over. There needs to be a more in-depth screen for the ASOP terminal.
How much time do you got?
Yeah,
It's
also
also
filters,
confirmed.
yeah.
Oh, you haven't been watching for a while if you're just getting that confirmed now. Jared, you're not supposed to be going on shows and telling people you hate certain ships. You're supposed to be championing everything. I'm like,
Yeah.
I hate the Rock DS. It's just.
It's comfy, though. It's got to
Hold
get
on, let's just do everything the first Rock does, but require 2 people. Look, I've never lied to you. I never will.
Sure.
It's the only promise I've ever made people. You've been mentioning long-term persistence, so let's just wrap up this storyline of losing stuff, keeping stuff. The last time we had this conversation, you talked about utilizing this entitlement system. Is that what we were just talking about, or is there more stuff?
There's more. So there's a lot of work ongoing on this, on the long-term persistent side. So just for those who don't know what long-term persistent is, or LTP, there's a mechanism we put in place to allow you to keep things between patches, right? So every patch we basically destroy.
The switch works. The one that looks like a slider. That switch actually works. I've clicked it before and it doesn't. I've never actually seen it work.
Like when you come into 4 to 7 when it comes out, that's a brand new database, right? The whole thing is fresh, and then we recreate things. Now, why do we recreate things? It's because these things are still changing. So the Hornet you had in 4.5 is probably different than the Hornet you have in 4.6. Item port locations have changed, materials have changed, serialized variables and all the data that goes with it has
I'll
changed.
check it out.
The gold standard Aurora that we just launched is technically an entirely different ship. The whole entity is different.
Yeah, exactly.
And what under the hood to the backer, it looks like okay, you just added some fins and blah blah blah. But under the hood, it's an entirely new set of entities.
And so, in order to allow us to keep stuff, we've built this system on the side that kind of keeps records of what you own. So it says you own a Hornet, right? That system has always been kind of I don't want to say a crutch because it did function for a long time, but we've outgrown it quite a bit. There are also many cases where we would remove records of things that you own because they're in play in a shard, and that's been proven to be a bit of a bad decision overall. And so that's why we've had multiple issues over the years of like players losing ship entitlements in the new patch or having more items than they were supposed to get. Like, some people have shown some screenshots of demultiplication of things between patches. And so it's been a big issue, right? So with the item imprint work, we're tying into that. We're reducing the footprint of what LTP manages by a lot because it will no longer store your entitlements. We just keep those as is. So that's one big bit removed from its system. The other complexity on that side is that it needs to manage nested inventories. And
Back to the freight elevator.
That's just completely crazy. So like, I have a handgun stored in the glove box of my Merlin that's attached to my Connie that's parked somehow inside of my, Idris and stowed in my location inventory. Well, I need to give you a record for that gun, right? And so that system needs to reread data and store it, and it's really complicated.
Which is why people have gotten into the habit before a wipe, or before a patch.
Yeah.
Freudian slip, huh? I know you people. But before a patch, people stow things in certain inventories to have their best chances.
Yeah, to kind of set it up, right? So on long-term persistence, ultimately, we don't want this system, right? Ultimately, we want to get to a point where we don't need it. So step one is to reduce its footprint. So that's part of item imprint is that. So that's a big deal. But the next steps start from the very low level and will require some large company change. We need to be able to migrate your old Hornet into the new one, right? Or at least be able to know it changed enough, I need to give you a new one, right? Or being able to just migrate the shape of the hierarchy, the item port locations, and the serialized variable formats on these things. Now, the thing you got to think about the way the ships are built, right? The entities have components on them which enable them to
Is
do
it live or is it memory?
I'll give an example just for the layman. You have a health component on an entity that says, hey, I got 100 hit points. When that reaches 0, then we destroy the entity, or something else happened, it destroys itself, right? That component is written in code. There's a game programmer that's maintaining this. We actually have a health component. It does way more things than this, but just to keep it simple. So a game programmer is programming this, and he needs to persist the value of health so that when this ship is now either put in an inventory, then brought back into the game, that the values of the health components on the parts, on the individual parts, have persisted, and we reload it, right? This is true for everything in the game, right? We have serialized variables and components across the game. There's, I think your character at the moment has like 800 serialized variables on it or something like that, right? So those are all different components. Are you crouched? Are you standing? Are you, health of all the limbs, stuff like that, right? So the programmers between patches, they just change that. I remove this one, and I put a new one in, and then because some of those variables, it doesn't matter if it changes. Yeah. Some of them matter, right? If you change that, like it's a different shape, it loads a different CGA model, whatever, right? So that's the big problem about how we need to forward migrate is we need to do that at the very low level. So currently, our network team and our online teams are working at this mechanism to be able to differentiate the important from the important SVs, the serialized variables, on components. So that's all across all components in the game. There's over 1,500, 2,000 components, individual code components in the game.
I love when Benoit talks, but Benoit is so technical. It's a lot of it is sort of, as always, like I don't think I got through one of Benoit's talks earlier, just because it's like a lot of this is like it's cool, it's good to know, but it's only good for like the people who are very hyper technical.
So
yeah, I'm falling asleep too.
For example, I don't need to know if you're crouched when I stow you in your inventory, right? I don't need to know that, right? But I need to know that when we're running and you're crouched, right? So we differentiate the two, and then we have a mechanism to migrate the data format from one to the other. When we get that functionality in and reliable, what that means is that we will just keep the database. And that is huge, because now that means there's no longer a process between patches that transfers stuff or moves it around or recomputes things. It's the same database. We're just moving its version forward on demand.
Basically, what he just said was the technical way of saying, instead of having to reload the database every single time we have a new patch, the database will persist in the back end so that you don't have to worry about it. So there won't be a situation where you boot up the game and with a new patch and worry that everything is going to be wiped from your hangar, because it will already be stored in a separate instance. That's what he said. It took him 5 minutes to do it because he's going over all the details. But yeah.
Now we've looked at multiple different options for that. Some of them were like, just migrate people from one to the other, but then we'd have to keep 5 databases behind, and it's just impossible. And so right now we're working at that option, and that's the longer term vision that we have for that. So first, reduce the footprint of the LTP system so it just manages some things, not all, and then work on the real fundamental issue, which is we need forward migration on all this data.
How many times in your life has a errant, random, unexpected serialized variable been the cause of distress in your life?
I mean, it's crazy. This is the single most important thing, because like, in case you guys don't know, every time we do full patch is easy because we patch server, client, hybrid, everything goes in at once. But when we perform hotfixes, and God knows we've done a lot of hotfixing this year, right? That's part of our process now. But there's like specific steps where we have our live QA team need to do compatibility checks, and any change to any serialized variable, added, remove, change the format, change the data, whatever, incompatible client. And so getting our processes in place to catch those before they get introduced, right, is really taxing, because there's always also fix this bug, and that make the whole hotfix incompatible and we can't launch it. So we have to backtrack, change our approach, whatever. And so that's the kind of thing we're dealing with. This will also solve that if we can make it.
It's important what he's talking about as well, but it's one of those things where the reality is when people go, I want to hear more about what's going wrong with the game, CIG goes, okay, here's all the technical things that are going wrong with the game, and these are the things we're trying to fix with it. What people actually are saying is, I want you to fix the game because I want to play it. When they hear, I want an update on said feature, what they're trying to say is, I want the game to be done. Like it's a matter of interpreting what people are saying versus what they want. Now, some people actually want those technical details, but those are the vast minority of the people when it comes to answers for Star Citizen.
Before somebody says you should have just made a simpler game, Benoit. Have you considered just making a simpler game?
Yeah. Cool.
All right, I want to move into our quality of life section here.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit before, because we just talked a whole lot about not losing things and all the efforts being made of not losing things. But there are other major quality of life things. For me, personally, after the not losing the things, it's social.
Yeah.
It's social. The ability to group with people, the ability to communicate with people, the ability not to communicate with people, the ability to just be like, oh, hey, that's a bad person. That's a bad person with bad thoughts and bad intentions, and boop, boop, and kick them into the pit from 300.
Sure.
And whatnot. Never to see or hear from that person again.
Right.
The all the tools for joining up. Finally, people have been creating and managing orgs on our website since 2013.
Yeah, 13.
And this is 2026. And those.
I get it, Jin, but the average person asking a question isn't asking the question for the answer. They're trying to find another answer. Like, most people, when they ask a question, are trying to get an answer, but they don't know how to formulate, or they don't think it's appropriate to ask the question, like, when are you going to get done with the game? Because, like, that doesn't help. That doesn't get an answer. So they try to figure out other answers, other questions to get the answer that they can come up with on their own. That's their problem. I know, but my point is you're a minority. You're a smaller group because you are also a technically minded person. So people who tend to be more technically minded actually are asking the technically minded questions because they want to get the technically minded answer.
Org's still not in game.
Correct. What are we doing?
We're reenacting a little play because Benoit and I have had this conversation almost verbatim for a little time. I'm just doing the conversation we had in private for you guys right now. So my question Benoit.
Yeah.
Friend. Person whom chat has dubbed brother. My brother.
From another mother.
When, Benoit? When, please, dear God in heaven above or down below, who do I have to talk to?
Sure.
Give me something.
Good.
for social.
Yeah. Well, so what is it now? It's all a blur. A social universe, right? The last
Yes.
panel that we did at CitizenCon. That outlines the vision of what we want to do with social. Now, with the year that we just had, we had to take a little bit of a detour on that initial plan. But right now, we have completely formed the social strike team. And so a bit like the heroes team, right? The social strike team, its only mission is to execute this plan, right? And so
So don't bury the lead. There is now an official dedicated team on this.
social strike team, yes.
Okay.
Exactly. And so this group is currently looking at all of the components that make up the social systems now, right? Fortunately for us, the work didn't stop on this side, even though we couldn't enact the changes in the game. On the back end side of things, there's been a lot of progress on social. And so even though the systems look primitive in game, their capabilities have grown quite a bit, even in 25.
It's just not using them yet.
So we do have a block list that we leverage now. It's simplistic, but because we didn't have the UI resources to do it completely. But moving into this, the strike team, right, covers all areas of social. So the plan is to go into 4 different pillars for it. So the first order of business is the Comlink app. So the Comlink app is like one of the oldest mobi-glass application we still have. It's kind of an eyesore because it's like from a dark, Ghost of Futures Past. It's like from 2000, I want to say 1918 at this point, style-wise. Very old technology, still use the legacy even UI framework that we had in the game. So we're completely eliminating that tab. We're bringing in forward the social application that we've shown at CitizenCon, so that design is moving forward. So replacing that, chat widget, right? So the entire chat experience in the game, we're completely overhauling this from the top at the moment. So we're right in the process of changing that. And hooking it up to the new systems. Revamping things like social notifications. Currently in our mobi-glass, we only have one kind of level of notification, which is like ultra important. So to have a proper social experience, you need to have these system updates, system notifications, like someone joins, someone leaves, whatever. Looking at things like combat log and all the stuff that we've looked at in the social universe panel. So we're actively building this now, and that's going to be the first. We don't know. I'm not going to say which patch is going to land in. So our schedule is twofold. There's a content patch schedule and there's a feature schedule. The features need to have leeway because it depends on where they're going to land. But that's going to be the first update to social will be Comlink app, right? So rich party information, friend phone tracking, chat app. So we're working on this right now, actively.
For a 2026 release?
Yes. Yes. I mean, it's like you mentioned, it's kind of urgent at this point that we do something there.
Okay, that's not too bad. It could be worse. That seems like at least an overhaul of the system so we can break it all over again.
This will automatically roll into the next... No, keep your dad here, come on. On the next milestone for the social strike team is going to be looking at the party finder mechanic, right? Which basically allows you to advertise your party and then get people to join in. Like let's say you're looking for a gunner and some FPS guys for your mission, then you can advertise that. If you're looking for friends to go do a specific event, you can do that as well. And so party finder, we're hoping, is going to be a way for you to find friends on a given shard really rapidly. Also tie that in with your friendship and your contacts. So that will be kind of, we're building on the first release, which will have now friend and foe tracking into that. And so that's going to be super interesting. That's the second system we want to bring in. And then obviously number 3 of 4, right, is the org system. And so in that space, we're taking the orgs on the website from 2013 and we're moving them completely. Obviously, the technology we used to build that in 2013 are obsolete. They're, it's a really old system. So we're bringing all of this data back into a game service to manage orgs, to surface that, obviously, game side. So now have org management screens, have your organization chat in the game, and then actually be able to create your organization from the game as well as surface it outside. So that's like, okay, now orgs are in the game. That's the first.
That's the whole name, and then the org.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and this will probably. I mean, we're still having internal discussions about how that surfaces. In our game, nothing is always set in stones, but probably going to tie into FPS scanning radar. Additions to when you fly your ship to identify others with scanning, and so the orgs will be part of that. That's it. Visibility in game, chat in game for your orgs, actually having your organization communications.
Yeah, that's a whole nother series of conversations. Weighing immersion versus running around and seeing it burns when I PvP
Yeah.
above people's heads. It's like,
Sure.
So
Let me solo her.
just
Yes.
fun fact, I got to write the original guidance at Blizzard for that back in 2004 for World of Warcraft. Yeah, I got to make the original list of, these are examples of really bad guild names to train game masters way back when.
Cool.
Chat, you've been saying it. It's next on the list.
Yeah.
VoIP.
Yeah.
VoIP, if you're doing all this stuff, VoIP,
We're looking at VoIP.
such an important element.
Sure. It's all part of it.
Graham tells me it's entirely your fault.
Yeah. Graham is, I don't want to say it.
Graham did not say that. He heavily implied it, though.
No.
Graham is more savvy than I am. He knew not to say it outright.
That's right. We love him. But he's wrong. No, but okay, so VoIP, we're doing improvements there on the backend side of things. So VoIP is mainly, right now heavily affected by the shard size. So the original design for this was really made for the 100 servers. And so we haven't had a chance to go back there at all. As part of this work, this team is also going to look at the infrastructure for voice transmission. And we're going to try to make it scale to the proper thing. So one element that we're talking about on chat and comms is that we're probably going to be moving away from the server chat, so what the original global 600 player chat, and move into regional chats like a true MMO, so that it's tied to the region that you are. Maybe multiple channels for that, and so VoIP will also be affected by that because it also powers proximity chat, and so proximity voice. Sorry, so we're looking at voice transmission from the top to the bottom. We're changing the whole backend for this.
VoIP's already in the game.
What do you have against Baron's chat?
Baron's chat was dope.
Baron's chat was. I mean, apparently Baron's chat was so dope. We implemented it here and have had it for the last 10 years.
That's right. Correct.
So
correct.
sorry.
We're also out of this. There's also some movement on player reporting for bad behavior. So not just blocking, which is is something that we have now, but that we want to expand on. But also like player reporting for other players that are either bad behavior, profanity in chat, things like that. Obviously, we don't at CIG don't have a large moderation team in game, so we're going to need some automated help there that will come and clean up some of these elements. So we're trying to really tackle communications from the top there with that strike team.
So social, there's not ever losing an item. Shout out to gameplay engineering director Jens. That was his major one, and then that was his one. Didn't feel strongly enough to come on the show though.
No.
Jens.
Yeah, next time we do a duo. Let's sign him up right now.
So not losing things.
Yeah.
Social tools. We'll throw VoIP in with social tools.
So chat, party finder, orgs is what we're going in order.
As far as major quality of life, I want to ask you personally. I'm allowed to say things personally sometimes. I do it often in my live shows, and then get in trouble for it afterwards. Benoit, I want your personal thing. What is your big bugaboo? What is your big quality of life bugaboo? The thing.
So personal.
Yeah.
I've got two. I've added one.
Scope creep.
Yeah. Okay, so I would say for me, in terms of quality of life, I love to play the game in a kind of a larger setup. So I have a kind of a flight seat that I like to operate to play the game, and this thing has roughly 13 devices connected to the game. Managing bindings is literally the worst. And so that's my pet peeve. If there was one thing that I could do for my own game experience, like other than like the in-game elements, it would be completely control bindings. Currently we rely on device order for some things, and so like literally you need to have like a kind of almost a common order for the devices on your machine. Sharing these profiles is very difficult. Being able to bind onto multiple devices, to really benefit from that. Being able to bind on multiple, like the same action on multiple devices, for me is super key, right? So that would be my absolute personal thing, quality of life to solve, would be device handling in general.
And you're announcing you've created a hero strike team for this.
No, I wish I could just do that, but it'd be cool,
So that's not something coming soon.
Well, there is work being done on the control systems, right? But not that I could say it's coming soon to Star Citizen. Yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of work there.
And while you're at, it'd be nice if it stored them and saved them.
Exactly.
Having a system for actually configuring that made sense and whatever, that's all great and whatever. But if I got to redo it every patch,
Yeah, I know.
So
saving them, cloud save across machines would be great, right? Yeah, exactly.
Talk dirty to me, Benoit.
I mean, it's the kind of thing where like I do maintain a couple of rigs at CIG, and people are always changing bindings. But the problem is, I can't reapply my bindings because it's not the system anyway.
So there are sim pits in the office. There's sim pits in just about every office at this point, aren't there?
Yes.
Yeah. And Benoit is as if he didn't have enough to do. It's his little pet project. He's intricately involved in them. It's every time I come by and he's at a sim pit, I'm like, you have more important things to do. He's like, and it's always like, somebody change my bindings. Sorry, Pete. I needed the emphasis on it. It's just the number of times I've walked past this man who it's just like, so yes.
I mean, it's because Yogi and I always are fighting against what the best binding is. You know, mine is clearly better, but you know. So we've decided that at some point we'll just fix the binding system so that we don't have to argue. Just load the one you want.
And you had a second one.
So my second one for inside the game is that I've always found in general like, you know, like mission chains is a thing that I feel our gameplay is always one dimensional, right? Like you do a thing, you finish it. Missions, so I know because I know things, right? I know we're working on an updated mission system.
You're talking about the limitations of the existing missions. You're not talking about the quality of the work of the people that are working on these things.
Yeah.
You're talking about the tools that they have to work with.
The system around it doesn't allow us to do these massive quest chains, right? And I think that for me would be a huge quality of life because you could go into a long adventure that takes you across multiple things. And so
Elliot Maltby was about to be on the corner of the building.
I know,
with
he's
high-powered
calling me
rifle.
right now.
You know, you're talking about the tools that our mission
to enable
is
these
available.
guys. Exactly. So I know we are working on an updated way to make
Spaceship.
missions that is a lot
take away my
more
space
scalable.
Suit. First watch.
You can even take away my space lasers.
No views.
But you can never,
Never.
ever take away my space game.
My brain is going. I'm gonna get something to drink so I can stay awake.
TK Rex just resubscribed for 15 months. Howdy, Paul. First watch through or a rewatch?
Use that 15 months to support your very important pupper, very impressive, very pedestrian. This is your fault. You're very drinking. Shots and drinking night, y'all. Shots and shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Chat. My brain has gone into mush. I'm gonna be right back. Don't go anywhere. I understand this is an important thing to watch. It's an important thing to listen to because there's a lot of information in it. But holy balls, whenever it's 2 hours of Benoit and Lando talking, my brain does not want to function. I cannot handle them talking is the answer. And I've learned that now over 2 years of having these sort of things happen. And it's just potatoes. It's a lot of information, but for whatever reason, I'm just sitting here going, cool, I guess. Yeah. I'm not engaging when I'm talking with it, when I'm watching them anyways. I'll be back after getting something to drink, and we'll hopefully watch some more of this, at least a little bit. No, I mean the problem about summaries is that summaries loses nuance. That's how you get one developer saying we don't plan on we're not going to wipe until we find these problems, and everyone goes they're going to wipe because people don't fucking read the original sources. So listening to the context is always important when you watch something or read something you understand the context. Those are important things, and so I want to be able to listen to it, but I'm just not going to be able to do it on the stream. Next time they come up with one of these 2 hours of Lando and Benoit speaking, I'm going to do it off my own. I'm going to watch it on my own. I'm not going to do it in chat because it's just not interesting. They just ramble too much. I think it'd be better if I'm doing something else while I'm listening to them, kind of thing. Be right back, chat. I'm going to wear.
Weapons free, y'all. Genesis.
Genesis.
McFly.
I love democracy.
Genesis.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
Mission complete.
Stand by for Titanfall.
Mission complete. There you go. Burrito.
I'm pilot.
Everybody and his dog calls himself an outlaw.
Genesis.
Mission complete. Burrito.
I love democracy.
I eat. There you go.
I love democracy.
Genesis. 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 Genesis.
Stand by for Titanfall.
Genesis. 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 Genesis.
Drugs.
Genesis. Genesis.
I can fly. I'm pilot.
Move around a little bit better. Let's finish this off.
For that, right? And for me, that's like a big quality of life because I feel you can go on a longer adventure, and I think that's a big quality of life overall.
Okay. I think that's. I know that's one that a lot of people would comment on. I mean, what they're doing within the tool set that they've had for so long. Yeah. I think we should talk about a little bit of why that. Well, maybe not why, but we can acknowledge. We can acknowledge that the tool set that was originally developed was not robust enough. It was not in line with the directions of a proper MMO.
Right.
It's no.
It wasn't built for the game that Star Citizen became.
Don't decide how candid I want to be here and whatnot. It's a mission system. It's a mission system that can't give you a reward for doing something. Like we built the first version of the mission system where you do a thing, you achieve a goal, and we can't hand you a thing.
Right.
And that it's. I'll just use that simple example as a coloring of the limitations of the existing mission system. For however that was built and why that was built and who that was built, and we've made changes internally to fix it. We've made changes internally to adjust it, to replace it. It's currently underway. What they've managed to do with the limitations has been stellar. Yeah. I was just seeing stats about this. The event that's on right now. Mm-hmm. The event that's on right now, built with the existing system, built with limitations, has our highest concurrency in the last 2 years outside of an Invictus or an IAE. So it's like they're doing tremendous work. Yes. They're doing tremendous work with the tools that they have. Yes. We've got to unlock those tools.
That's exactly right.
We've got to unlock the tools for them.
That's for me. That's the quality of life update.
Because if they can do this with that, imagine what they could do if they could actually chain these things together and segment them off and have one continue after another and stuff like this. So
exactly, and tie into reputation, economy, so that it actually is one big loop. Right.
All right.
Cool.
Now that I've saved your life from Ellie, I'll be killing you. Let's talk about some features currently in development.
Sure.
Crafting.
Yeah.
Tech preview just happened recently. Mm-hmm. How's that going?
Good, actually. I mean, I don't want to say surprisingly good because the team did amazing work on it, but it's been going super well. I mean, there's a lot of work left, right? But I think that we got what we needed from the tech preview, and it wasn't a complete meltdown, which is always a good thing. But the team is working really hard to try to hit potentially a patch soon with crafting, which I really believe that crafting is such a big step for Star Citizen as a whole. It's just it will be a different game with the crafting system in place. And so the work that those teams are doing right now to bring this to life is incredible. I think that we're leveraging the technology that we have to be able to create runtime items with different properties and things like that. And so far the first tech preview has been surprisingly solid and a success, I would say. And so now we're writing the coattails of that tech preview to try to see for a launch window for crafting.
And you can't have crafting without the inventory rework.
Correct. That's right.
And I rarely ask a question I don't know the answer to already. The inventory rework is in the same tech preview, right?
I don't think it was.
If you can't, so you can't have crafting without the inventory rework, but the tech preview for crafting doesn't have.
Technically, you can. They can be.
It would just be really bad.
Exactly. It's more from a game design point of view. But the inventory work is going really well. I mean, some of the people have been reposting screens recently on the original concept, right? That was shown. I mean, it's starting to look like that, so that's really good.
When does that go into tech preview?
We're hoping very soon because, at this point, every version that I've seen is fully functional. And so we just really want to solve one thing. This is one, and you say quality of life, like if I have a third one to add to my list, right? The speed of rendering of icons in the inventory, right? And so right now, you open your inventory and there's always a moment where it's rendering RTT, like the render to texture icons for each of those. Now, in case you don't know, this is a full 3D scene that gets rendered flat right there. Like we have versions of this in previous concepts where it's full 3D. Mm-hmm. It's super nice, but
takes forever to load.
The user experience isn't that great, right? And no matter the amount of work we're going to put on the UI and the functionality of inventory, the speed of the UI is really a thing that we need to improve. And so that's the part that we're still iterating on now. We've done massive improvements, but there's still, we need to dial that in perfectly because that's the part we really want to solve.
But you feel good about it?
I feel good about it. Yeah, absolutely.
You feel good enough to say 4.7 in March?
I think so.
Don't put the camera. When he says that, you got to put the camera in him. No, you look at the camera. You say inventory.
I think inventory is going to be in 4.7. I think so.
I doubt it. I think it'll get close, but I don't think it'll make it in.
Okay.
Well, inventory, but maybe not crafting. You said inventory, right?
You're gonna put the small text after this, right?
No. Okay. Look at the camera. You say inventory.
I think inventory is gonna be in 4.7.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Inventory, yes, not crafting.
You're gonna put the small text after this, right?
No, this is live. This is live, baby. No small text. And so, if inventory rework is 4.7, I'm not going to push you on crafting. It's a super complicated thing or whatever. But
And the teams are working really hard for that launch window if they can make it.
for that launch window,
We're pushing really hard for that launch window.
you're pushing really hard to get crafting in 4.7
Yes.
in March.
Yes.
Okay.
No promises.
No, pushing hard is fair. Pushing hard is fair, and it's in line with what I've seen.
Yeah.
I've seen. So.
So I don't think we'll see crafting in 4.7. I'd be happy to be wrong. Whenever I say something like that, it's not me saying no. It's never gonna happen. You know, I'm just trying to set expectations because CIG refuses to do so.
But you can
Never,
ever take away my space game.
The Janitor just resubscribed for 73 months. 73. That's almost a million.
Thank you so much. That's 73 months of support there. You're very important, public, very impressed, but very pedestrian. This is your fault. There's drinking night. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. CG is somehow still afraid to say no. It's not that they're afraid to say no. It's that they are always optimists. When they're telling us some of this stuff is stuff that like is likely internal beliefs. Like from what I can tell from my discussions with CIG members off the cuff, yeah, they believe it. Like when they talk about it, this isn't some sort of like marketing thing. They didn't talk to marketing when they start saying these dates. They just say these dates because that's what they have internally. Whereas like a typical game development studio of their size typically would have some sort of filter between the developers and the players. So they're just saying the fucking Jira. You know, they're just looking at the schedule and be like, yeah, it says on my schedule this is what we're planning. And the problem is they're often they are overconfident in themselves. They often set dates which don't meet the deadlines internally, but they've given us the internal deadline.
I won't correct you on that or whatever.
Now we don't know what surprises are ahead. Right?
Yeah.
But,
Is my camera at 10
keep
FPS?
keep tech previewing.
Keep tech previewing, exactly.
Yep. And for your part, keep logging into the tech previews and keep testing. I cannot stress this enough. The more involved folks are in those things, the more likely we are to be able to deliver them.
And the feedback is really key. Yeah.
Most of the feedback's okay. Some of it's trash, to be completely honest. Small amount of it. It's just what? Hey.
It is what it is.
Hey. The candy goes both ways. How's instancing going?
Very good, actually. We actually had a summit this week about instancing, about getting all of the levels set up to support it. At this point, so maybe I can do a quick recap on what we've discussed on instancing before. So we talked about server meshing, right? So instancing is basically an additional system on top of server meshing, which allows us to take an area of space and give it to a server in the mesh to manage, right? Doesn't matter which one. The geographical, if I want, the spatial position of this thing doesn't matter, right? So for example, when you go to your hangar right now, that is an instance, right? So what we're doing is we're taking this system that manages and we're making a true instance manager with it. So we currently have the backend service completed for this. And so what that provides is the mechanism for creating an instance that is associated with you or your party, and having rules for how many this instance is made for, how many players, enforcing player caps and party caps for that instance, managing the life cycle of the instance. So hey, we want go back to my WoW days. Maybe that's dated now, but like your Molten Core instance lives for 10 days, right? So the instance manager is in charge of doing that. So that system's in place now, and so the teams are currently working on how the entrance to the instance is going to work, right? So, well, we know how it's going to work, but like how it ties into level. So level designers put in, an entranceway.
Right.
At what point are you crossing the boundary? What brings you to the instance? What brings you out? Transport is a requirement for instancing, so just ties into all the discussion we just had. Like transit cannot bring you to an instance, but transport can.
Okay.
So basically, we want to power that up there. So you can imagine an area of space that you walk into through a SAS or an elevator or a transit train. And when you come out, you're in the instance, but you don't even see.
You never see the loading screen.
demarcations. Exactly. Now you're inside the instance. You play inside the instance. You can gather items, inventories, whatever, boss fights, etc. And then you can exit through another transit link, and that's it. You're back in the world.
So if we do this right, you should never be aware that you're doing it. We might have to put some kind of indicator on there because of like raid locks or whatever. We talked about municipal works, and like this. So
I hope this goes well because so far the instancing have been failing. The instance we have, as you just said, isn't the actual instancing that they want to use. They need the transport system in to be able to create the current instancing that they're building. So that's why it's not working properly.
There might have to be some UI stuff to tell you to.
Yeah, some screens will show you like, oh, you can't enter this.
Yes, but from an experience, we're not. There's no load screen. There's no hold on, please wait. You're transferring you to whatever. Like you say, it's just you're going to go and suddenly the world around you is going to melt away, and you will be in a section of the universe that is dedicated entirely to you and your party.
Exactly, to play it, right? And then we're also talking about at the moment how the instance manager responds to the mission system, because we might want to be able to change what level you're going into when you pass the threshold or things like that. And so, or the access rights, right? So if you think back, man, I keep going back to WoW. This sucks, but whatever. In the good old WoW days, you need to do lower Blackrock Spire.
It makes sense. WoW is the standard, the standard that the industry is held to.
At some point, someone has a key. That's the requirement that unlock Upper Blackrock Spire. Well, we're thinking about mechanics in that vein that allow the mission system to lock or unlock or the access rights to an instance. And so all of this is currently being managed, but it's going really well. Most of the networking capabilities that we needed have been added already. So one of them is that currently when you go to your instance, the way the server actually tracks that is we put a flag on your character that enables you to stream in your hangar and actually view your hangar when you go there. And we remove that flag when you leave it or when you go elsewhere when the hangar is removed. And so in the code up to now, we only have the ability for a single one of those on your character. So we can only give you access to one instance. But we need to be able to give you access to multiple instances, because we might have areas of transit that cross like one instance to another instance, things like that. We're going a bit deep with this, but at the moment, those mechanics are ready, so the networking bit is done. So now we're really about crafting the first experience that we want to do with instancing.
And the first instance content will be Siege of Orison. We announced that.
Redux.
Siege of Origin Redux. Ooh, c'est so France.
Yeah.
That's scheduled to come online. We talked about it during CitizenCon Direct. That's one of the content drops that are scheduled for this year.
Yeah.
Basically everything you should We've been talking more about a schedule than I probably intended at the beginning of this thing. But everything you saw everything that you saw at CitizenCon Direct last year is scheduled for 2026. So, and we announced at the beginning of the year with the first ISC that we've now moved to a bi-monthly. That's once every 2 months. For those who like homonyms, I'm not above recycling a joke. Content thing. So if you know the first one was in January. We've already stated the second one's in March. The third one will be in May. There's always a patch in May for very important reasons. So forth and so forth. So when you it's one of those things where when you look at the content for CitizenCon Direct, you can sort of start to reverse engineer where things go. I'm not going to tell you. I'm saying you've got the tools. You can pretty much kind of gather where everything's going to be. And I'd like to see your schedules. And that's just content. That's just the content stuff, because that's really what we talked about at Citizen.
I can tell you, like, from being with the team this week, working on instancing, everybody's like super stoked. Like it's like the energy is really high on like, oh man, how you enter it, how you exit it, what gameplay's going to be in it. There's also a big piece of this, which is like some designers, in this case, can design an experience that is repeatable. Most of the content we've produced this year was, there's a PvE experience for it, but it's fundamentally in a PvP zone. So that is giving them those tools to make something that's fun and repeatable as an experience. And the energy is really good.
Nope. Now the chat's like, Squadron 42, whatever. I ain't talking about Squadron 42. I made one very plain-spoken, reasonable comment about Squadron 42 the last time we got together, and it got press articles. So I ain't saying nothing.
Yep.
I'm talking about Star Citizen. Star Citizen. Star Citizen.
Where we at?
I want to inject something.
Inject?
Yeah, they're going to say jack and or shit about Squadron because of that. Because Jared said we can't confirm or deny that Squadron's going to come out next year. We're shooting for it, but we don't know. Everyone said, they don't know, it's not gonna make it in 2026. Everyone lost their fucking mind. So like PC Gamer was quoting Jared and it's like that. Okay. So what CIG has learned from that is to just not talk about Squadron anymore. Thanks.
Okay, let's go. Something we haven't talked about. It came from the chat. Regional servers.
Yeah.
Regional servers. We have never had a conversation
about
in any way, shape, or form about regional servers. It was there in the chat and whatnot. I think I'm going to put you on that spot.
What are they asking?
It just says regional servers. When just what can we do to help the people who play in the various regions of the world have a better experience? Is that the answer? Is regional? I guess what I'm asking is regional servers the answer, or is there some? Or are we going towards something else different that I've literally never asked you about?
Well, I don't know in this case if they're asking for what I think they are, but let's talk about regions.
Okay.
So we already have regions, right? So when you play the game, you can pick one of the global availability regions that we service. So obviously, the U.S., North America is one.
Remember when journalism meant something? In gaming, it's never meant anything.
The Europe is one. We have East Asia, Australia. I forget the other ones, but I think we have another one. So typically, we look at user data, right? And if an area reaches critical mass, right, at some point, then it's worth it to deploy shards there. So and have shards hosted in that region. So we do it like between US and EU. Obviously, they share our common backend. So your inventory system is hosted in one central area, but then the actual game servers you're playing on for latency reasons is going to be closer to your area. Right now, we are revisiting our region kind of distribution for a couple of reasons. Like we've done some pretty large, without naming any details here, but we're in the process of doing some pretty large migrations. In how we host the game. So there's, even if it's a bit transparent, there's a lot of changes happening there. And so we are revisiting our region map kind of at the moment. But typically the way that we've done this is we look at player data, and if we reach critical mass in an area, then it's worth it to start deploying some shards there. But it needs to be more than one, right? Because deploying one shard in one area is problematic because, there are cases where a shard goes in.
But you can never, ever take away my space game.
Shinobi Trip _ just resubscribed for 36 months. 36 months? That's like 3 whole years.
I mean, yeah. Thank you so much for 36 months to support the Shinobi. You're very important, Papa. Very impressed, Mr. Rainy Pedestrian. This is for all there's drinking night. Shots and cheers and chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. They're asking about having region locking and region economies. We're not going to see region locking and region economies. They've said that already. That's not the plan.
To trouble for some reason, and before a hotfix actually deploy, that shard is no longer usable. So we need to have, it needs a critical mass to be able to go there. Yeah, exactly, a proper cluster size to be able to get there.
And the short version of that is you're currently undergoing conversations about where.
Yeah, we're looking at that because we've done some changes, so we have access to more regions than we used to. So we're looking at that, but I can't promise any changes. Again, it's completely based on player using the service.
So during the keybind use conversation, every once in a while I'll check Teams just to see if I still have a job during the shows. Which is another joke I get accused of making quite often and repeatedly, but it isn't a joke. I really do scroll and check. Jeffrey Prees, I had an R there. Bearded
CIG?
Didn't mean to add a.
What did Bearded CIG say?
He sent me a JIRA for keybind use, exporting custom keybinds. XML doesn't export all settings.
2013 or what?
Yeah, no. Bearded would send that because you've been able to export your key bindings since Arena Commander.
He's just sending me JIRAs now. I don't know what you think I'm going to do with this, but thank you. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, Bearded.
Thanks, Bearded.
Bearded built the fucking... I'm pretty sure Bearded built the goddamn thing. You can export fucking keybinds.
I haven't talked to Jeff in a while.
That's actually a guy we should talk about if we were going to reevaluate regions. Maybe get him on the show next.
You want to talk about Jeff? Let's talk about Jeff. He can't do anything about it. We know he's working.
Yeah, that's right.
So what do you think is hiding behind that beard?
I don't know.
We're in the final stretch. We're in the final stretch. We only have a handful of topics.
He does have a big beard. That's not a joke. He's not called bearded for anything.
No, he is. I have met him in person. He is a fantastic singer, by the way. What you don't know is that Bearded CIG is like damn near professional singer. I am not even joking. I think he even like did some singing in college and stuff like that, like a cappella work and stuff like that. So you get a chance to if you meet Bearded, you'll see him. He has the big beard. Ask him to sing his favorite song for you or something. The JIRA is about not exporting every linked every keyboard command. Oh.
VR. VR kind of came out of. I mean, it's one of those things we've been talking about it.
Sure.
We talk about it here and there.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be real. We've talked about a lot of things over the years. I mean, we've talked about a lot of things.
I mean, we used to have VR in 2014. I say, but air quotes. Air quotes.
That's like saying I'm a baseball player because I played a couple of Little League games. Let's look out for
A long time ago.
A long time ago.
I think it was Oculus Dev Kit 1.
Yeah.
Is what was supported.
Yes.
Anyway.
And I used it for 45 minutes and ended up in the fetal position for the next 3 hours. VR is not for me. I want to preface this by saying VR is not for me. But it's for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's for a lot of people. And at the end of last year, surprise, a not a fully blown or fully cooked, fully developed feature like we would normally refer to them. Some how do we refer to it? Experimental feature of VR.
Yeah.
Where did this come from? What's going on? And do it without saying the word Santa, Sylvan.
No, sure. Yeah. Well, so there are a lot of developers at CIG that really like immersive experience and work, right? And so there's a contingent of developers, also one specific one that have been really trying to get Star Engine to properly support VR. And so, as an experiment and to build that,
it helps that Sylvan is building. It's like I think he's the head of the team that's working on the Star Engine. So it's like when the head of the team wants something, they make sure it works.
These guys and Sylvan in specific has been really pushing hard to try to get Star Engine to work in VR. Experimented with multiple different approaches, over the last couple of months. Settled on the OpenXR approach and was actually able, through his own passion and then support from his other colleagues, right, to get stuff fixed so that we could support VR in specific cases. And so that's how we decided at some point, hey, you know what, like this is actually pretty cool. Let's release it, right? Like we have a unique chance at CIG to be able to work on a custom engine and working on custom technology. And so encouraging that effort, we decided to release an experimental mode to see, hey, let's see if people like it. And I mean, the response has been pretty impressive overall. I think that the results that we're able to get in VR are a testament to some of the decisions over the years that were taken and how the game has been made. And so there's a lot of little things that just shine when you now put the VR headset on that, maybe if you're playing just on the PC, you're not going to appreciate as much. But, and I'm going to go Chris Roberts here, but Chris, always insisted on, taking the difficult approaches to build certain features, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that
really
are like, we could have done simpler on this one. But we did the hard road and we actually delivered it. And so now when you put the VR headset on, well, you've got reverse IK in the seat, right? And it's the kind of thing that now all these decisions have paid off in this VR.
It was a pain in the ass in 2017.
Yeah.
When poor Evo was on it, and now so many years later, it's that part was plug and play because of it.
Yeah. And I mean, even internally, the arrival of VR, even before the experimental mode was shipped, was tremendous. Like I spent a couple of hours here around our VR rigs next to my sim rigs with the ship team going like, oh, I want to see my ship in VR, let's go. And then, because designing for VR is a bit different, like sense of space changes and whatever. So that's really truly an experimental mode that we've been pushing. Obviously, there's a lot more people around Sylvan to help him out and get this there. But, I think that this is a testament to kind of the technical framework that we have at CIG that allows that kind of effort to not go unnoticed and kind of show up in the game.
Chat's currently arguing about whether VR is a low priority or high priority and stuff like this.
The priority at this point doesn't matter because it's an experimental mode.
Yeah.
It's a bit like eye tracking. It's a bit like all of these side projects, right? Like head tracking, eye tracking.
It's not an initiative on the same scale as the inventory rework or as crafting.
Exactly.
It's not a full initiative. It has not taken a priority over something else.
Exactly.
I've only got a couple more questions for you, and they're kind of the big ones. And yes, people, it's about the things that you want us to talk about. You're saving it for the end. I've been doing this for a while. I want to take a few questions from the chat right now before we get to it because we're actually doing okay on time here.
All right.
Is the inventory rework, is it just UI or will it actually apply any additional functionality to stacking and unstacking and stuff like that?
There's additional functionality, but obviously the big of the groundwork was the UI, usability. But if you look at the mockups, right, you also see equipment. So it's not just inventory; it's actually equipment plus assignment on your character. So the paper doll approach. There's also some other elements like proximity inventories that are part of that, which are pretty large functionality-wise, and I think will have an impact. So it's not just UI. There's a lot more client architecture also. The way the UI pulls the data, caches the data, and displays it.
More Twitch drops. There will be more Twitch drops this year. Already in that. Yes to medical. Why didn't Levski mold situation have us rescuing NPCs with medical ships? We'll talk about that in 2 weeks when we've got Elliot and Torsten on the show here. We'll talk about that whole event and stuff. So we'll save that question for them so they can speak about their own work. When Nix won this year.
Yeah.
That's the thing that got me in trouble. One thing I hope, and I got articles. CRG spokesperson says he hopes this will be whatever. I'm like, oh yeah. Let's see. There was one more. I can't find it. There was one more question I want to sneak in before the questions that are already on here. All right. This section is called Final Hot Seat Stuff.
I just read Final Hot Stuff.
You missed a word.
That's because I've been going for
things that are
for
happening
several
day-to-day.
hours, and I'm
Economy
already late.
exploits.
I'm gonna get 20
Economy
minutes.
exploits. And if you're watching the show and you're wondering why I'm talking about economy exploits, it's because I'm going to get to the next question that you've got, the question you've had the whole time. So,
Yeah.
let's talk about the economy exploits.
Sure.
hell?
What's happening?
The fuck? Okay, I just froze hard.
There are exploits.
Be better.
Well, so in terms of the economy in general, right? There's a couple. I think we're up to 7 or 8 right now. So first of all, we have a strike team on this at the moment, right? Looking at all these different things. There's a couple of ways in which there's been potentially duping, ways to earn rewards they're not supposed to have.
I think we're beyond potentially.
No. Well, yeah.
Okay. Fair.
And so we're looking at all these exploit vectors, right, to fix them. Obviously, that needs to be prioritized. The big conversation that was spawned from that is like, we're a game in development, but we're also delivering a live service, right? And so we don't have a framework for this. In that internally, when we get exploit reports, we don't necessarily automatically prioritize them. So the conversation that was spawned was like, okay, well, there are going to be exploits, right? Every game has a series of exploits for its entirety of its life, right? No game has no exploits. And so the question is more, how do you respond for it, right? And so historically, exploits have always taken a lower priority to ongoing development, right?
I'm going to jump in. You're 10 switching between past and present. I want to be clear. You're talking about the past right now.
The past.
He's 10 switching a couple times. It makes it sound like he's talking about today.
No.
It's like
In the
we're
past,
talking about the
yes.
past, guys.
So in the past, right, exploits would fall. They'd be bugs like any other, right? Depending on the severity, sometimes they got escalated, but we didn't have a process for this. So now the conversation is about when we do get an exploit report, how do we deal with it? Like, how do we escalate it? How do we respond to it? How do we deal with it, right? And so for the current ongoing exploits that we know about that have a damaging effect on the economy, currently we're dealing with them the same way we've dealt with the other hero strike teams. And so we're looking at each one of them and confirming the fixes, right? And sometimes, you fix an exploit, there's a second vector right away. So those are complicated fixes sometimes. So we're dealing with these things right away. But the big thing that also this puts in light is that even a minor exploit at the moment has a very large effect on the economy because there are many limits that are not in place. And so at the moment, we're also looking at overall economy design and limits around, selling, inventory capacity, exchange limits, ongoing active tracking of player trades and or large purchases, things like that. Now we want to make clear that we want the economy to be fun and movable, but we also need some protectionism behind it. And so that's what we're looking at the moment. Now I don't have all the solutions. I didn't write them down or show them out, but this is the spirit that we're in at the moment on these economy exploits.
You're being very diplomatic about something. I want to point out what's on the struggle with talking about this.
Yeah.
We can't
tell you how we're
we can't tell you we can't tell people what we're doing.
Yes.
Because every single let's back this up a bit. So an exploit exists. Whatever timeline you want. We'll just make it simple. We'll make it real simple and do days for the point of conversation here. Exploit exists on day 0. On day 1, it comes to our attention. By day 2, we figured out what's causing it. We cause it. On day 3, we could fix it potentially depending on the severity length, but we don't automatically do that because there's stuff to be learned by leaving it. In certain cases, we find more information out about who's doing it. We find where it's coming from. About other vectors, we found like any bug. Okay, we found this cause, but sometimes there's 5 other causes for every bug. So you find this cause of an exploit, but maybe there's 4 other causes for that same exploit. And if we patch this one up right now, we may hide the other ones and we won't discover them for much later. It's like this. There's this incredible dance that I get to sit here and watch. Sure. I get to sit here and watch you guys do occasionally. I speak up with a thing, and you're very kind to humor me here and there from time to time. But I get to watch you and the player experience team and your programmers and everybody involved do this amazing dance of finding these things and researching these things and working out how they happen. And we can't. It's one of those things. We come here on a show and I want to talk about it. We were talking about this last night, but we can't go through all the methodologies. We can't discuss all the solutions because then knowledge is power. And if they know what we're doing, then they can run around it. It's this incredible dance that is frustrating, and it can often look like we're sitting on our hands doing absolutely nothing.
That's right.
Welcome to the world of intelligence. This is what it's like when you're dealing with any kind of secret war with a group of people, especially when people say to you, like, what do you do for a living? It's like when I worked in security, what did I do for a living? I walked around. It looked like I was doing nothing. But I also had to pay attention to specific things. Anyone in cybersecurity, network security can say the same thing. This is just one of those things you do. You track things that are going on and you don't slam down on them until you absolutely have to. That is how this works. It looks like you're doing nothing until you do it. And when you do it, it suddenly resets everything you were doing for the next several months or years. Yeah, but you'd expect it to, well, I'm talking about like the intelligence gathering, like espionage. It's very similar to what you would see in any security service, is what they're talking about, where it's, you know everything, you just can't talk about it, because if you talk about it, then everybody else knows the things, and then they scramble and go for stuff, you know. I get it. Most famous example, Allied forces cracked the Enigma Colossus encryption in World War II and told nobody. This led to more deaths, but they intelligently saved many more, but nobody knew about it until decades after the war. Yeah. I applied to work for a 3-letter out of college, but I didn't have enough experience. I wasn't in the military. But that was something I wanted to do when I was in college. I went to school for a history degree, and there's a lot of folks who work as analysts in history degrees. I just didn't have the language skills for any places I wanted to work for. So,
and that's an unfortunate, frustrating side effect of the proper way to do this.
Yeah, well, every time it touches security.
You're currently working in military intelligence. I feel sorry for you.
Anti-cheat, economy, exploits.
Your job is to sit down and look at a lot of things and be like, well, fuck. And then you get to tell other people, hey, this is what's going on. And they're like, well, fuck you. What if you're wrong? And it's like, God damn it, I hope I'm not.
It falls in that. It's going to fall into that area where we can't be as transparent as we'd like to be.
And they're saying in chat now, and they're not wrong. Like cheats and exploits have sunk so many games.
Yeah.
We have to get a hold on them. We have to get a handle on them. We have to fix them. And again, but it's this.
Ironically, my wife also wanted to work in intelligence services. Every so often, I tell her she should have just applied for the Secret Service. She worked in banks, and when she worked in banks, she really wanted to work in security because she was really good at finding frauds and other things like that. And one of her former bosses actually had like a friend who worked for the Secret Service. So I was like, Cam, go apply. Like, we can move if you want to work for the Secret Service. That'd be kind of cool. For those of you who don't know, the Secret Service, yes, it does protect the president, but its main job is actually to stop counterfeiters. They deal with a lot of banking crime. They're really good at it. So, but she never did it. So yeah.
It's this dance. It can't always be right away.
Correct.
It can't. At least that's one of the things that Alpha affords us. We take the time to make sure that we do it right. Take the time to make sure we research. Take the time that we're actually finding all the bad actors and blah blah blah. It's just at the same time, it's annoying because
she's gonna find frauds. Did she say that about the game? Did she not be mentioned? Every single time I talk to her about Star Citizen, well, not every single time. Sometimes when I talk about Star Citizen, she'll sit there and listen to me, and then at the end she'll say, "Is Squadron 42 out yet?" And if I say no, she goes, "Okay," and then stops the conversation.
You want to go to Reddit, you want to go to Spectrum, you want to go to Twitter or whatnot, and just scream, "We're on it, we're doing it," whatever. But you can't tip your hat anything. You can't.
Current prediction. There's a lot of great former Secret Service agents who were involved in really big counterfeit operations. Have written some stories. There's been some histories written about the Secret Service. They're nerds. The thing you understand about the Secret Service is that the people who are like protecting the president are like the best of the best of the best. Most of the Secret Service are a bunch of fucking accounting nerds. They just love numbers, and they love numbers, and they love mystery novels kind of shit. Like they're not really like cops. They're more like forensic accountants. So.
It's because every.
Well, I put my colon emoji sometimes on stuff on Spectrum. Just
you can't say we're actively chasing this one because then the people are.
Yeah, no, like it's funny. I was watching a documentary on one of them it was years ago now, but where they were fascinated with how counterfeiters worked. Like you could tell that they were as interested in like the artistry of counterfeiting as they were like trying to stop it, because they could see the art in it.
Using it scatter, and we don't find them. It's like this.
Exactly.
It's one of the hardest aspects of game development communication, especially for a project like us that prides itself on being as open as we are. People will be like, open development. I can't believe you're not telling us. That doesn't mean it's open. I'm like, open development means we're more open than any other company in the history of the medium. It doesn't mean we share every single thing, every single moment the minute it comes out. I do sometimes and I get in trouble. But it's really difficult.
It's a difficult balancing act for sure.
It's terrible because there's been so many moments when I want to go out and scream, we got this, we're on it, we're doing this, it's fixed. But we just can't. You can't because it makes it harder. It makes it harder to do.
Well, yeah, and you're going to miss things. That's the main thing.
But,
hey, can we flip seats for a second? Because, you just grilled me for what? How long have we been going for now?
Almost 2 hours.
Yeah, I have one question that I want to switch seats for. You ready for it?
You want to ask me a question?
I want to ask you a question. I want to grill you on one, at least one.
I can see you looking at your laptop like you got notes. All right. What do you,
I have my note question right here.
What do you have for me, Manuel?
So is the battlecruiser actually happening? Is that thing actually going?
Whiplash. Just whiplash. What does that have to do with anything?
It's whiplash. Let's go.
It's clearly Jared's baby. Whatever this battlecruiser is, it's Jared's baby because they bring it up with Jared all the time.
Let me see if I'm being yelled at already.
Yeah, check this out.
I'm not.
What are you doing, Jared?
I'm not actively being yelled at.
Good.
Yes, the battlecruiser is coming.
Yes.
It's a tried and true manufacturer. Not one of these new hotness manufacturers. One of the older manufacturers of verse.
Anvil.
And it's sure. And I did say this last time, so this is not new information. The manufacturer thing is new information. But
Anvil.
Our big giant military combat themed event that we do every year around May is probably a pretty good time to expect it.
Anvil.
And it will be and as we said before, it is our intention to make it the last concept we do. We made it through 2025 without a concept, a single concept promotion. We do not have a single concept promotion scheduled for 2026. Other than this battlecruiser, we don't have a single concept promotion scheduled for 2027. This will be the last one. It's an old Kickstarter thing, and so
It's happening.
It's happening. It's happening. We're going forward. I'm not going to tell you anything more about it now. But yeah. So okay.
Is it big?
You got anything more? that it? You get your one out?
Is it big?
It's very big. It's very, very, very big.
That's all I got.
That's all I'm going to say. Okay. So
It's unlikely to be Aegis, even if they have the Aegis stuff working, only because it would have to be very old. It could be RSI, but fans have been talking about Anvil battlecruiser or an Anvil capital ship for fucking years. And if the fans have been talking about it for fucking years, then CIG staff has been talking about it. I guarantee you the ship team has heard about this and has their own dogs in this fight. And it would make sense if you wanted to build anything that's of a larger caliber for Anvil to build a battle cruiser. And what was just being mentioned that was being worked on that happens to be a large Anvil ship? Why did they suddenly decide to make the Liberator? Odd ship to suddenly decide to build when its role really wasn't being met. Why would it get fast-tracked? They build fucking ships as a precursor to bigger ships. And the precursor to a battlecruiser that made by Anvil would be something like the Liberator. Just saying. Well, the Javelin still hasn't been released, but that would be one.
sneak it right in there.
Also, the last time they released a Aegis ship was last Invictus, because that was when they released the Idris.
That's my one for the show. All right, then fine. Wipe. Wipe.
We were doing so good.
Wipe. I held them off. Wipe.
Right. So, okay. We're not planning a wipe. We're planning.
Good night, everybody.
We're planning. We're looking at targeted actions, right? But we're not looking at a wipe for the moment. And so we want to keep on rolling. First of all, there's some of the work we've discussed. Obviously, I can't share the details of what we're doing, but that needs to be completed. So for now, we're not intending a full blanket wipe at all.
No, this goes back to what we were saying before about the biggest quality of life, like all this work going into long-term persistence and to item recovery V1 and stuff. It's about, and the freight elevator, it's about making sure you keep your stuff.
Yeah.
Making sure you keep your stuff, making sure you keep your stuff. So we've got tools, we've got logs, we've got
A lot of logs.
we got a lot of logs, we got a
lot
lot
of
of information, a lot of information. So it is our intention to do a targeted correction to those areas that need it, and preserve as much of the gotten gains of the everyday Star Citizen as possible.
Exactly.
Wouldn't be the first time. CIG's done this before, where they targeted people who specifically were doing exploits because they can track who is doing them, and they hit them with the ban hammer, or they hit them with the nerf hammer, and more than once a couple of people got really fucking angry about it, and I believe it was Xylo basically said, "You want us to show the logs of you duping that we have?" Because they were like, I never duped. I don't know. This is bullshit. And like, Xylo came out and said, "We have your logs, dude." And they shut up right there.
So no blanket wipe.
That's right.
Okay.
Cool. So we've answered that. That's done. What else you got?
Just hit me with a Valkyrie. Oh, I got a message. Hold on. Where's that? I skipped it. Was the battlecruiser mentioned in SEL just now planned? Lol. Planned by somebody.
Whoa.
All right. No comments. No comments about the size other than it's big. It's big. It's just big and it's cool and it is so damn cool. All right. That's it. Oh
cool.
No.
Yeah.
One last question.
Yeah.
Tell me something we don't know about. Tell me something we should be excited about that we're not currently excited about. Give us something nobody's expecting.
That's hard. You're putting me on the spot now.
I'm putting you on the spot, Mr. Is the battlecruiser coming?
Okay.
I'm gonna set up
one thing we didn't talk about in detail that I could give background info on is Genesis.
Okay.
And Nix 1.
Genesis.
So, I mean, we're obviously working on this. That's no surprise to anyone. But the one thing that I'm excited about is that we've kind of conjoined development on 3 separate things in order to ship the best Nix experience that we could offer, right? And so obviously Genesis is part of that, and the Planet Tech that's behind it. But also the Starchitect work. And so for those who don't know, Starchitect is a way for us to be smarter about building planets and the human populations that are on them. So settlements, buildings, distro centers, LZs, name it, right? So historically, we've placed that by hand. And so Starchitect is a way for us to give designers control over the planetary scale of how these are distributed. And it's a fairly fundamental change to how the game is made. And the third one is what we call the population control / population manager. So currently you have AIs in the game, right, that are sometimes hand-placed, sometimes dynamically spawned. We've talked about
spawn like a
gazillion
just hitting
times.
the spawn button.
Yeah, which is my biggest pet peeve. By the way, that's my trigger point. If you want to trigger me in a meeting, just tell me there's another overspawn issue. But anyway, so population management and control is a third component of this. So I'm excited about this because as we're working towards Nix 1, we're aligning all those 3 things into one strike team to deliver that together. So I'm excited about that because those are like 3 major development pieces that Star Citizen needs to scale that we're bringing together. So for pop control, instead of having all these either hand-placed or dynamically spawned AIs in key areas, that's a system that will basically manage the server capacity of AI agents to be able to distribute them at the right place, but also spawn the right AIs for the right jobs, manage the priority of these spawn requests, all that stuff. And so it's such a much more scalable system that will allow us to really like build up a dense universe than we've had before. So I'm excited about the fact that those 3 projects are part of the same kind of drive at the moment. That's the first thing I would say that you guys don't know about that we're going to bring together. The second one, I mean, there are some hints of this in the game already. So I know some of the techies look into the game client, try to find some stuff. I'm not going to go into more details about this, but we talked about sim rigs. We talked about how the experience in the sim rig is. So VR is a great thing if you have a sim rig, right? Obviously, having the headset on is such a more dense experience. We're also working at improving our peripheral support, so being able to feed information, non-damaging information to peripheral manufacturers, so be able to enable them to make custom Star Citizen experience for the sim rigs. And also we're currently in the process of looking at motion and motion platform support for the game. And so I think that's something we haven't talked about specifically, but I'm mega excited about it because opening up basically the motion systems to be able to leverage that, on the key elements. So I think that's something that I'm super excited about because that's just another level.
There's that new Corsair keyboard that's got the Stream Deck built into it and stuff like that, and like this.
So those would be my 2.
Anything for player facing for in-game? Something. I know about something. We're treating this like it's a big thing. It's not. We just did the big thing. But spawning.
Oh yeah.
Spawning.
Well, so we talked about spawning a hangar, right? And so to build spawning hangar, we had to build a new workflow, right? To be able to determine, can we spawn you there? Is there a requirement for you spawning there, right? So the requirement in the case of spawning hangar is your hangar spawned, right? That's also extended to ships, right? But what we're trying to achieve, now I'm not promising this anywhere, but is spawn in place. And so we're trying to extend that workflow for spawn in place so that, you know, you just log in a game and you spawn where you were. And so that's something that we're passionate about and we're trying to get in there. So
log in, log out,
bam on it.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Not a, you know, you have a bed in a ship, you don't have a bed in a ship, you just wherever you are, get out,
Correct.
get back in, come back right there.
Yeah. Surface of a planet, you know, spawn in place. As long as you can still spawn there. Right. There's going to be rules and limitations, but we're looking into that. That is also a big change for the game to me.
Yes.
That's a huge change.
Yeah. Just
Cool. I'm happy you raised that up. I was going to forget about it.
I got you, baby. All right, and at that, we managed. It's 4:57. We're right there.
Hey, right on time.
What do they say at the end of Hot Ones? You know, tell everybody give everybody your socials, tell everybody where they can find you when you do next.
I mean, I guess here in however many months.
We're here until the heat death of the universe.
That's right.
Benoit, thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you as always for coming back. We're doing these about every 6 months. It's what we agreed when we did this.
Kind of a
first one
rendezvous
about a year
now,
ago.
right?
Yeah,
it's a good rendezvous.
So we'll see you again sometime this summer.
Yeah,
probably.
sure. Absolutely.
I just want to say, you know, it's there's our.
This is fine. All right. I did a reset. How is the camera now? Is it still choppy? Still, it's super choppy? Okay. All right, turn it back on. Properties. It's the camera, yeah. Let me try something real quick. I've been having problems with the camera as of late, so. I think I need to get a new capture card for the camera. I may have to restart the computer. All right, I'm gonna restart the stream. For those of you on YouTube, it will be it'll automatically dump you over to the YouTube to the Captain's Table one. I'll try to reset up here on Twitch, and if it's still having problems, then I'll probably just call it off. All right, be right back.